today here, what we're going to talk about is the MCP client, and what we're going to code is to add this streamable transport to the MCP client. Okay, so this video will be public for like while streaming at 48 hours, and then it goes to the members. And then if you really want to have it that this series here public forever, let me know in the comments if there's enough comments and enough interest. I'm always okay to put things public. So the thing here that we're going to do is we go back to where we were before. And so what we're doing is we're like connecting to an MCP server. And an MCP server is the new things, Model Context Protocol, but it's really kind of an RPC server, which is multi-transport, meaning that it can work on HTTP or it can work on STD in IO and so on. And in fact, the way it works, it's use JSONRPC, such as the payload is always JSONRPC regardless of the transport, which is always the thing that you want to do. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of JSONRPC, and I'm very pleased that MCP and fun device, okay, and A2A kind of fully embrace the MCP. So that's pretty cool. So the way here that it works is we have this crate that I'm the author of, which is agentic in crate.io. And the goal of this crate is to allow people to have the support, the utilities to build MCP and agent-to-agent kind of things into their application, their command line, their servers, their whatever. So obviously it's at the beginning of the development. And right now we're going to focus on the MCP kind of thing. So this is what we are focusing at this point. And the goal of this API, the ways that I've designed this API, is to be extremely ergonomic. So I'm a big fan of ergonomic API in Rust. So sometimes it's a little bit more verbose on the implementation side, but then the way that we use it in front, I like when things are relatively ergonomic. And so in fact, if you look at this code, and here we're using the client stdio transport, is relatively simple to understand what's going on. It's very idiomatic and everything is fully typed. So here is going to be a list, tools, result, and so on. So things are going to be pretty good. Put the chat here. Feel free to jump in the chat or to say hi in the chat to make sure that everything works, but I do think that everything works. And you can also jump into real-time audio and video by doing the team meet if you want, such as if you have questions or if you want to have the real time, it's good. Hey, Jack, thanks for coming back. Yeah, sorry, I had to stop at the middle, but at least he will kind of be part. So the thing I was saying is two things. We have the MCP client, very ergonomic APIs, and right now we are using stdio transport protocol, which means that your things open a command line, and then it communicates with std in and std out. And then every communication is one line, and the line is JSON, and the spec of this and the format of the JSON is JSONRPC. And then after it follows the MCP spec. That is the way it works. Now, what is the JSONRPC? If I go back there, I don't want to go too much. I already talked about this, so I don't want to, but I want to. This is a good one. So JSONRPC is this kind of things where you pass a JSON is always HTTP post, but it doesn't have to be HTTP post. It can be any protocol. In fact, I use it for Tori. I use it for everything, JSONRPC. And you just have a JSONRPC like that, which is kind of the marker that's saying that this body is a JSONRPC business. And then after you have your ID, which is the ID of the request. And then the only thing here is that it will respond with the ID of the thing back. Yeah. So the goal of JSONRPC, and this is JSONRPC, A2A and everything. We, for example, and we build big application like video platform for surgeons and everything. So I moved everything in JSONRPC. I'm not using REST anymore for RPC kind of things, even for CRUD or whatever, because you do a gymnastic with HTTP posts and everything, and it's get very limiting. So the nice thing is MCP has completely normalized in JSONRPC. The IDs that you pass on when you send the thing over post or over SCD in IO, the server guarantees that it will echo back this ID. So you want this ID to be unique. And in my crate, I take care of that. It's even transparent. You can control what you send, but by default, I will create a unique one. And then you have your method names, and then you have the param name value pair. So that is the way it works. And this is why it's awesome, basically, because it's very flexible and you can use it for Tori, for your server, for your web UI, for everything. And so the thing that we have is we have this, and the way that I like to have is I have all my code here, and if I do a Toki on this one, it's going to be 4,000 lines of code. Not too big, not too small. I mean, it's not but it's a decent crate. And it's actually implement all of the types of MCP. So the way I've done is I spend a lot of time to design the right model, and then I ask AI to complete, and then I really macro manage the AI. So the way that I work with AI, I macro manage it. Now, the thing is the client business, I didn't ask AI too much on this one, except some minor refactoring. But I like to design it by hand because one of the things is as I design, I fine-tune my design. So we have two protocols, one which is the SCD in IO, and then the other one over a web server. Okay, so the SCD IO is this one. For example, here we're calling an example, so that is not JS, and then we're calling this guy, and this is the SCD in IO, and this means that we have the client connect, and then we send a request, and then the cool thing with this library is you have the MCP response with the list tools result, which then allows us to print all the tools, for example. So if we run that, it will run that, and usually I have something like that, CWE, cargo watch execute, is a shell function. I give it a lot on my YouTube videos often, but then I'm going to do a client, C01, simple. And that will kind of call with the SCD IO. It's compiled the thing because I changed the stuff. I don't know why it's so slow as well. Okay. If I do another one, it should be faster. Okay. Because my cargo wash example do a quiet of everything. So because everything is quiet, when it compiles, you don't really see because I don't like noise. So this is a list of functions. And then we have another one where we call the tools, we call echo and add. And the API is very ergonomic. So all of that is very cool. One thing which is important is to support server side. So sometime you want to have, you have a server somewhere, which could be remote or whatever, and you want to connect to it. There's an interesting part into MCP, which is in a way the protocol itself, JSONRPC, and the way that the IDE works is stateless, and HTTP is stateless. But you have this concept of the protocol itself is stateful. You have this concept of connection. You connect, and then you ask things. So in a SCD in IO, it doesn't really matter because usually your program will have this connection, and anyway, you spawn a new command line. So anyway, the server is just for that anyway. In a server, we need to maintain some states. And I think the states, the server needs to maintain it. Yeah, okay. The server needs to maintain it. So it's the same kind of business that when you log into a website and you have a web token back. Yeah, so the server will probably give you some sort of web token, whatever format it is, doesn't matter. And then you need to make sure that you send that back. Otherwise, the server won't be able to know the next requests come from the same thing. So that is the difference between the two. So we have done this, and this is fully implemented. It works this way. And now we're doing that. The way I'm doing here right now is I do not have unit testing or integration testing yet. I will add it later because right now I'm maturing the protocol, but I'm going to implement the HTTP protocol. The cool things about MCP, at the high level, MCP is a way for anything, including AI, but anything, to introspect a service. Say, what tools do you have? And it will give you the list of tools and it give you the thing. So obviously, when we have AI, which we have trained to think like us, this is useful because rather to give a web UI or a screenshot or this kind of cool demo stuff, but that doesn't scale, now we have a protocol such as not the AI, but the program can say to the AI, if you want to query this service to know what kind of functionality it has, here is a JSON that you can use to query it. And then the models kind of understand how to pass tools and everything, and then they're allowed to do that. So that is the thing. Yeah? It's a web service, JSONRPC, with an introspection kind of thing. And then there's stuff where you can ask a prompt for some things, and then there's more kind of AI kind of things. But overall, from a tool standpoint, that is a concept. So we're going to implement the HTTP support. What we did this morning is this stuff where we implemented, give me a sec here. We implemented this guy, the HTTP. Okay? So the way it works is I am at transport. So inside client, I am at transport. And transport doesn't really bleed outside of this crate. Now, the only thing that bleeds is what I call the transport config. And then the client, this is what we interact inside our code, the people that use this crate. So here we are creating a new client, and then we are creating a transport, which is our HTTP transport, a local host. This one, and then we're going to implement everything else. So that is what we have. And right now we wired everything mostly pretty well. So if we're not going to run the things, but on this one, what we're going to run now, if you go, I think I still have it there. So if you Google the MCP spec, you have one server, which is pretty nice, which is the everything. So this is a nice server. We have so you can go there. It's their repo servers, and then they have a list of servers. So that is the one that they actively maintain. And then this one is a very good one because it's kind of the reference test servers that everybody on the planet use in a way. So that is what we're going to use for us to make sure that our client works. And then we're going to make a server in Rust that will do that, will do the everything in Rust, and then we'll test with our own client. So this way, this agentic crate will do both. It will be pretty cool. So now on these things, if you click here, you're going to see that there's the stdio, which is what we use. And then when we have the stdio, this is the way it works. Yeah? So we have the stdio protocol. So again, command line, you send one line, JSONRPC, each line, and then it will send you back in the stdout one line. And error is open bar. Now, on the server side, before, and I'm happy because I would have implemented this guy, but I don't think there's a big difference. They had this HTTP SSE. SSE is server sent event. So you open, it's not like really WebSocket, it's like you open a long-lived connection in a way, and then things can send you can send events, and then it can send you back events as well. So there's this kind of things. Yeah. And this is what is used when we are doing chat, and we want to use a stream API of all of them. We're using SSE. Now, Google, OpenAI and Anthropic follow the SSE spec. Google, they don't follow it, so they send part of the JSON, so you have to. But I have implemented it in my GenAI crate, the native protocol. But they don't really follow they follow the JSON. They have a weird way of doing it, but it's the same concept. So what they're doing, so now what we can do is we can see and we can run the server like this with SSE, or we can run it with Streamable. Okay, so that is what we're going to do. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can also join. I put the link of MSTeam if you want to have real-time audio and ask questions in real time. That works as well. So let me do a thing here. There's always a weird thing. Sometimes my YouTube gets out of sync a lot in my visual below, so I need to go back to it. And it should be a little bit less delayed. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to run the server like that. I don't like a camel case anymore. That is a side effect of Rust in a way. And this is what we're going to do. So my best practice is I have .not. Anything that starts with a dot is by default not committed in the Git. So I can get, ugly stuff over there. And so this is what I'm going to run this. So I copy paste the things there, such as I can do that. Now, the thing that we've learned this morning is when you run the server, it's going to listen all the time at 3001, which is good. And this is what we're going to have in our things. We haven't fully implemented yet, so what we have, and we're going to continue to do that now. If you go to transport HTTP, so I had this pattern that I'm using for stdio, so those are two siblings in a way. So here we see that it kind of time out. But that's fine, we'll make sure that we connect fast enough. And then right now I just have a client transport, just the URL. So that is what gets exported over there. And then the pattern is I have a client HTTP transport that takes the config and then also take inner transport, the transport itself in a way, yeah? The thing that has the data. And we know that in this client, we're going to want to have the request client. Now, I don't remember here, I think there's something, and we're going to look at it. I'm going to make an assumption right now, an educated guess, that what I want is to make sure that I have the cookies enabled. So this is one thing which is important, is to make sure that I have the cookies because, again, the MCP protocol is kind of stateful. So it will have to know that it's talking to me somehow. So I need to make sure that the request client is going to be like this. So right now, what we have implemented, because we have implemented that, this kind of work doesn't do anything. And sometimes I will do a thing like that, a debug print, and I will do the end. Okay, CWE. No, I'm not going to do it. That will be for our server. Our stuff will be here. So CWE. Kinlo Empire, and I'm working on something similar, Pro Rust 10x, but for Scrapsy. You are the best. And eventually, if you want me, so here's Kinlo here, pack. I'm more than happy to push your things in the default AI pack repository if you want. And so you can put it in a repo, and then I can put it. So you need to give me your namespace. We need to brainstorm on that. And then you can push it if you want in the thing. So right now it's going to be manual, but eventually you guys will be able to create account. So AI pack allows you to create some custom agents, and then you can pack them and then share them, and then you can download from a repository. So that's pretty cool, Kerglo. So anyway, so now we do that, and we do C client, C03, HTTP. Yeah, and it's funny because at the beginning I might do more this kind of way where even if people can create accounts or whatever, to really select people that can deploy, not really select actually, I want them to be connected to me somehow, such as we make sure that we don't have bad code, bad agents that can do bad things until we tighten things up. So that would be actually a good way. So the way that I like to do it, now I do the cargo watch, and then it watches these guys, and then if I change anything there, and I press save, and then boom, the thing is. So often I do that, and I do that sometime on test. I have a CWT, and it does a cargo watch on test, and then I can pass exactly the function I want, and I work on that. In this crate, I don't have the test yet. I just have the clients, the examples, which is by design because I'm maturing the API, so I don't want to go too crazy on the test yet. So I have this. This one is good. I am on a branch. Git log. I am on this branch, and then I'm going to create a commit. I am on this branch next HTTP, and I'm going to do, so that will be the base commit where I'm going to collapse everything. And now I'm going to do a git c, and sometimes I do git amend, but this one is, HTTP in the work. So when I prefix with a tilde, meaning in the work. It's a personal best practices. I'm sharing everything I do. Cherry pick what makes sense. There's no absolute truth. So I do this. So we have the connection. That's good. And then we do the client connect. So this one here, if we do that, we should have a kaboom somewhere. Press save, then boom. Yeah. Requires for this bound. I was not expecting this one. Yeah, it's not implemented into client stuff. That's correct. Yeah. So we haven't implemented things, so that is normal. So I will stop that. And we are going, oh no, it's even a compile time. It's not satisfied to implement the things. This is true. In client transport, this is correct. So the way I've worked is I have this pattern. So for stdio, everything is implemented. And I have this pattern where I'm going to collapse it first. And you implement from here. And okay, so this one is implemented, I think. And the life cycle is implemented. Yes. Okay, sorry. We're going to see that. Client transport, HTTP transport config into client transport. Okay, so we're going to take that. So I do a command F, or yeah, command F. Sometimes I look at stuff, but this one is small enough. So this is the trait that I'm saying when you connect, it needs to implement this trait. And that is an opaque trait, because I don't want people to implement their own manual transport today. And then, or I might have a custom transport that I might, but I want to control the business. And then I'm going to, if I do a F4, I'm going to find, so that is a trait, which is sealed. That's a little bit Rust pattern stuff, which I think is a little bit hacky, but it's well used. And it does work, and you don't do the clippy, and you don't get the clippy warnings, which is nice. And then here, this is what we're implementing, and we're implementing in which files? The transport. Okay, fair enough. So that's why I took the wrong assumption. And into client transport. And so what I need to do is that, and I'm going to do this one for HTTP. And that should be working here. Okay, fair enough. And so this means that my client transport form is not implemented there. So the design pattern that I have is I have this client transport that has this kind of things. And we need to have a from. So I like to have my code region, such as when I look at the code, I can see, the different implementation when I fold everything. So I have this guy. And so here we go directly to a config, to a transport. So that's why we implement it. And so I'm going to do that. Okay. And then boom, everything should compile. And then this one should be happy now. Okay? So here, when I do copy paste like that, I was like, well, can I, at some point, there might be an opportunity where I do a blanket implementation. So that there's an opportunity here to do a blanket implementation. I don't want to bug too many people with that right now, but that is a sign because it's very redundant call. Moreover, I only call into. This is something I should be able to do a blanket implementation from, such as I don't have to repeat it all the time. But right now, we're going to keep like that. And I'm going to run the HTTP 3 business. And it should be everything not implemented, implementation transport start, which is normal. So now we're going to review this guy. And the reason why is we do a connect. And the design that I've chosen right now, and any design I do, I can change my mind. I don't care about changing my, again, in engineering, and I think it's true for any engineering, the less emotion, the better, the more passion, the better. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter if we change the design later. We need to have our little story in the head all the time. And so my current story in my head, is to say that the config client HTTP transport config, that is what the user of the crate will use with HTTP thing specific or command line specific and everything. And then there's an in-air business that is not people outside of the crate, of the user business. And today, the in-air is only created, so it's an option, and is only gets set on connect. Okay, so like this, I use this in-air a little bit like a flag, has it been connected or not. Just the current strategy. And then I put, again, the other guy also in an in-air. So yes, when I clone this, or if I were going to clone that, I will have kind of two arc here. Okay. Now I put it on arc. I wouldn't. Yes, I put it on arc, but right now I don't have clone here, so I wouldn't need it. But eventually, I know that I might clone the thing, so that's why I did this architecture. But this is a little bit thinking forward. It would have been valid to start just without the arc and having the arc after, I think. So now I had this, and this is why we have the start. So the way it does is when you start a connection, this is where you make your first connect. And you make the connection with the server, and the server is supposed to be, it's not really your business, yeah, but your server is supposed to be, the server is supposed to be, to know, to keep track on the things. I'm going to answer this question because it's very cool. What happens if you make a trait seal? Does that hide it from people using your library? Yes. So in many ways, here's the things that I wanted to do. And it was a cool comment on the Blue Sky, someone that spotted it, and he was right. I want to say, this is just my design, that I don't want people to goof around with transport. Transport always get complicated in the weeds and everything. So it's just, I want the user to give the ability for the user to give the configuration of the transport, supported transport. Eventually, they might implement their transport, I don't know. But for the default one, the types that they will do, and actually, I will allow people to develop their own transport, but there will be a specific type, which will be a client custom transport, something like that. And then you implement your own thing. And it just might be a config again, And so the idea is you don't really give the interface or the implementation of the transport. You give the config of the transport you want to have. And even when I'm going to have custom transport, it will be a custom transport config. In my code here, I have this client. I'm not happy. I'm going to nuke it. We can do HTTP transport config, std in out. We don't have to repeat the whole path. Yeah, that has no value here. So that is a goal. Now, what I want is for the ergonomic of the API, you see here we have an HTTP transport, and here we have the same thing, which is stdio transport. I don't want to connect to then you create builder and you never end with your build and all of that. So what I like is if you click on connect, you have implementation into client transport. Before I was saying implement the one that implement from client transport interface. And then the problem is then the people could implement their own trait, which is not the point. And then I will expose this trait, but people wouldn't really be able to implement it anyway. And so it's not clear if this trait should be implemented or not. So in this pattern of the Rust pattern, and if you put a trait kind of private, then it's an anti-pattern in a way. So the way it works here, the pattern is to say, hey, I have a trait into client transport. I want to be able to use it in my function, such as the user can use function with argument with into client transport, but I don't want them to implement transport. So what you do is this guy would get exported, the sealed will not. So here I'm saying into client transport, and if I go back, this one is getting exported. Yeah, so it's getting flattened out, and then eventually everything gets flattened out into MCP. So that gets imported, but not the sealed. So people cannot implement the into client transport. And that is good, yeah, because then at compile time, I have the things. Now, if you give something back, if I didn't have the seal and I didn't give the into client, then it will be in a weird place, and then Clippy will kind of complain, rightfully, saying you're exporting something that is not available or something like that. And so this way, that is a way to do this pattern. And it's pretty good. Yeah. So sealed is not a special word. It's not a reserved word. The only thing is a trait that is not exported outside of the trait. So this one is exported, but not this one. So nobody can implement this one. But everything that I have implemented on this one can work. Anyway, so hopefully that works. It's a very good pattern. And then Clippy recognizes this pattern and doesn't bug us. Because it could have bugged us. Yeah? It could have said, hey, nice trick, guy, but, I know your seal is not, so people won't be able to implement this one. But somehow, for whatever reason, probably they approve of these things. They say, okay, in this case, it's okay. I let it go. I won't do the warning. I love Clippy, by the way. I turn it off. So right now it's turned off because I'm doing the experiment. And so, oh no, it's not even turned off, but I might turn it off. So yeah, it's turned off. So I'm getting confused. So unuse, level allow. So right now I'm not seeing the unuse because I'm maturing the API. But as soon as I mature the API, I do command stuff. And then usually before I merge to main or whatever, sometimes I might forget, but I like to remove it because Clippy is a gem. I mean, Rust is a gem. Yeah, I'm obviously biased, but these guys, they really know what they're doing. And so in fact, in my things here, say cargo check. I think it's cargo check. I don't remember where it is. But make sure that you have Clippy somewhere. Clippy, yeah. So cargo, Rust analyzer check. I put Clippy because it's awesome. So now, right now, I disable it because I don't want my brain, and everybody has their superpower and their kryptonite. My brain has a lot of kryptonites, and when I see this little kind of yellow stuff, it slows me down. So I remove them, I brainstorm, and then when everything is tight, then I re-enable it. And usually I don't toggle it off on and off too much. It's only when I'm maturing something. So anyway, we have the things. We have the transport stuff. We have the connect. Connect, it complains because you say, hey, when you connect, my pattern is we start the thing. But if we look at the start of the HTTP transport, it say, hey, not implemented, which is normal. So we're going to, we're going to control C that guy. Okay, control, yeah, that's a me problem in a way. Control C that guy. I'm going to go git amend, git log, muscle memory. So here I'm making sure that I never do a git amend without knowing where I am, because otherwise it's a pain. And git amend. So this is a git alias that say git commit amend and the same message and everything, such as I can do that quickly. So I collapse, there's no value to keep it there. So now, what we're going to do is the client business. So the cool thing is we have the config. We don't have this guy yet. So we're going to create here. And we're going to create with a builder here. So we're going to say let rec client, okay? And that will be a request. It's a client. Sorry. Client builder. Is it new? Yeah. And then build. Okay. We're just going to do that. That will create our client over there. We do a question mark here, and that will kaboom, because the result, which is the errors that we have, are the pattern that I have, and I have a video on this pattern, but the pattern that I have over there here, so this is the error for this level of modules. So usually my error is at the root of the crate for most of my crates, except for this one, where I put it there because the goal of this crate would be to have MCP and A2A, and I want them to be relatively separate. I don't need to have them sharing the same error, because they are different business. They might have shared some module, and I will have an error for that some module later. But right now, the error is here, so it doesn't recognize it, and it doesn't know what is a request builder. So there's two ways of doing that. I can do a map error of the string, because this one, I made it right now relatively flexible. It's not really tight. So I have custom, which is string, and I can get all the string over there. And then I have some type one. Okay, so that is the way I like to work. So this way, typically, I'm going to do something like that, where I'm going to do request, XMLs. And then I'm going to do request. And usually when I do that, I would agree that that is almost an anti-pattern, because by doing that, I lose a little bit what was the context of where did it fail. Yeah. So when I have the XML, sometimes I have them, but my goal is always to try to give them more context eventually. Yeah. But this one, we're going to do request, so that is a pattern that I have. And we should have error hopefully here. Error. Okay. And now the beauty of derive more, which I love, I do a from, such as I don't have to implement my own from. Kind of remove the boilerplate code. So I love a lot. I'm not a big fan of this error, even if the developer was awesome. Yeah, it has nothing. But I like derive more, which is not about error, it's just about removing boilerplates of common implementation. And it's really awesome. The display is awesome, and the from is awesome, and it's separated. So there are two different kind of business. So I like that a lot. So that's it. And now it doesn't complain anymore. I'm not super happy about that, but I will fix that eventually when the crate matters. I will fix that there. I will remove that, and then everybody will complain. And then I will do my refactoring. In these kind of things here, I could ask AI, and I use AI a lot, again, with AI pack and everything. No emotion about AI pack, no pride one way, no shame one way or the other. Don't care. I use AI a lot to build AI pack. actually, my goal is to have 40, 50% of generated. And usually I generate a lot, and agentic has been generated. Here, the same way that I was explaining this morning, the reason why I don't use AI is because I want to design as I code right now. I want to take my time understanding the thing and then making the important decision. This is a second transport protocol that I'm doing. So the second one is the first of many. And then once I have that, I can go and use AI for the rest, or to refactor, or do whatever. But right now it's more about designing, and the way I design often is I design on the go much more than on paper. Okay. So that's the reason why I do that. Now, the thing here that I think I'm going to have to do, I'm not too dogmatic about that, probably need to add cookies support. And it's not by default with request. I've implemented somewhere, and I know we have to do extra works on that, which makes sense. And so we'll do that later. Right now, we just do a connect, and it should work. And then when we send the request, it should fail because it wouldn't have the cookies of the one before. So if it fails when we do a list tools, for example, I will be happy. So I'm building that. And now I know that this client business, I'm going to give it over there. If it needs to be a mutex or whatever, again, no shame. I mean, if it cannot be concurrent, for now, I might do it as a mutex, and then we'll see. So anyway, I'm going slow here. So I have the request client, and then I do. So now we have this. And what we want to do is to send the connection. So now here's the beauty of this kind of thing is I'm going to do a hack actually. We are going to do, no, actually, we don't have to hack it too much. I'm going to go to transport, and here's the way it works. I go to the implementation. I have the start, and I have this guy. And so I build the command so that we don't need that. I run the command. Yeah. And I have, I think, yeah, something I'm missing over there. It should be a loop somewhere. Okay, this is the way it works, okay? So what I do is I spawn a task. So I run the command, and then I spawn one task. And within this task, I'm going to do the loop. And the way that I'm sending event back is with the Rust channels. Now, as I was saying before, the channels that I like to use is this guy. The stuff is Flume. So I'm using Flume for my channel. You can use Tokyo and everything. But this one, I like it a lot because it works in async and sync. And so it's kind of amazing. And actually, I have a comms transport, this one, that allows me to have the input of the commands I want to send, and that is the out, which is what the server is responding me. So and that is the error. So that kind of normalizes things, and it works for STD in, and I think it's going to work as well for the HTTP protocol. So what we're going to do now is say, okay, we're going to have this, and I'm going to follow the same pattern as this guy. And so we're going to do this. I don't need to keep, right now we don't, I mean, we're going to do the web handle. We don't need it. I don't think so. We'll see. And then we are going to do our first thing. So if we go there, the way it works is we should have a connect. We have a connect somewhere. And somewhere we do have a connect. So in in MCP, what you do is you send a command, which is a connect command. I think it's a connect. Okay. I get it. I did it the right way. So here's the thing. I'm going to go slowly here. I'm trying to not change too fast for you guys. So this is my client transport enum with these two guys. And then if you look, my client, so we're going to go and look at the client implementation. Yeah. So one pattern that I have is my module. I don't like to have mods.rs having code there. Just my way. And in fact, it works very well with AI because then I can give all the mods and it's very cheap and it gives amazing information about the code layout and what is private. So actually, this is best practice go well. So what I do is the client implementation that could have gone there, it's valid to put it there. I put it in underscore EMPR or underscore base or whatever. So that is a little bit of practice that I have. And so if I go to my client here and I go to connect, yeah, this one, we're going to see what's happening here. So we have the com inner is sum. So this is a way where I say if there is already a sum, it's already connected. So I have this communication stuff, and then I create the pair, I create the transport, and then I start the transport, and then I do, it's not a connect, sorry, it's an initialize. So what's happening in the MCP, every time you start an MCP server, from a client standpoint, you need to initialize. And that is what make it a little bit stateful. Okay? So you initialize and then you send commands. Because since the server can send you notification, it has to maintain state somehow. So the cool thing about that is not the transport. The transport is not in this business of knowing what initialize is about, which is good. So what I did is say, hey, the transport is just about, I'm going to give you this channel, transport TRX. So TRX means you have the send and you have the receive, the pairs and everything. So it's TRX stuff. And then you are responsible of sending the right event to that. And then the client will do the right thing. Okay? So this is a little bit stuff. And so this one is going to do that. So the only thing that we need to do on this one is look at the stdio, and we're going to go. So we get the TRX over there. So we're going to follow that pattern because that was a good one. Okay. So again, the in is what we, the client, send in, and so it's a receiver from that point of view. Everything is relative, yeah? And then the out is what the server is sending out back. I could have reversed the word. I mean, anyway is the wrong way anyway, so this one works. So now that we have this, if we look at the stdio, starting the command, so that is the equivalent of starting us, the web client. Yeah, so far so good. And then, and by the way, what I'm saying here is how I code as well. So when I code faster, obviously, and thinking about this, I'm reviewing the code. It's like, okay, that makes sense. Because sometimes you have to clean things. And then once I have everything there, then I do the read line. And so in this case, I just do the read lines of the various reader. So that is the error guy. And then the other ones, I don't know what they are, but they are over there. Yeah, so this line, these lines. Oh, no, I'm sorry. So in this case, oh, interesting. Yeah, we don't have to do that. In the case of the std-in, stdio, I made the decision, I mean, and it's a good design. I listen every channel, the error and the out, two different things. So here's the stdr, and this is the stdout. Yeah, so this is what I have. So we're going to follow this guy for now. The error, I don't think we're going to have the error things in the context of web server, because the error will be a normal request. Otherwise, everything will break. So what we're going to do here is in the stdout, when we're getting the answer from the MCP server, buff reader, obviously, we get the line. This is Tokyo stuff, I think. And then we get the next line. And then we await, and then we are going to parse and everything. So what we are going to want to do, that is to get the answer. We're going to implement that later. Now, there's another loop here, another Tokyo spawn. So when you do start, there's these three guys, starting. And then this one is to say, hey, I received the message. And so if I go there, it's going to be a string. Yeah, that's fair. So that is going to be a serialization of the RPC call. I could have put it here, a value of set JSON or whatever, but in the current design, this is the raw string to be sent. And we're going to follow that for now. And then we send it to std. So this is a little wrapper here that I've done. I don't know where. I don't know why. But oh yeah, because it's async, you have to clean it up and do all of these kind of things. So anyway, so I had these kind of things. You have to truncate the errors sometime. You have to flush and everything. There's a whole little dance. By the way, if you use MCP, do not use bun.js. Use normal NPM. I lost 2 days on this bun.js because the way it manage IO is not the same. And anyway, so I think the issue wouldn't happen on a web server case, but don't give yourself a hard time. Just use NPM, standard node. And I love bun.js. It's nothing against bun.js, but for stuff like that, it's better to go standard if you have issues. So what we're going to do right now, we're not going to worry about the answer. Are we going to? No, I just want to make sure that I can send something and I don't get an error. So we're going to do that first. So we're going to do this guy, and we're going to take it there. And we are going to spawn that. So the way I like to do it, again, is my little kind of things. And I'm going to say sending request to server. To make it very explicit, because it can get a little bit confusing, this stuff. And this is web request handler. Okay, so that is what we're going to have, and then we are going to receive the in event. And so the nice thing here that I like about this design is once you go, and I'm using Flume because I like Flume, but you can use Tokyo as well, the Q and things, doesn't matter. But once you have done these kind of things, you have abstracted whatever protocol into the message passing. And then you can decide what you want to do, if you want to do it in parallel, in one queue like that, or whatever. So this is what I like. I like this pattern a lot of Rust. Or Rust or Go, I think, is the same, similar things in many things. So now we have the receive. And this is a magic thing of Flume, and I've swapped it because for me, I think it's kind of a default, but do whatever you want. But so I like to wrap my little reserver. So that is a Flume or whatever, however it's pronounced. So that is our receiver business. And then I wrap it into my comms Rx. And then I say receive is the async one. And then, oh no, I didn't even expose, but if I wanted, I could expose pub fn rsv, and then I will do sync. So I will swap them, but this is just me. I don't, this has, and we do something like that. And that is pure magic. I think is the default one is sync. And that is pure magic because if you use one and you try to use it in another one, the Tokyo in a non-async one, or it's a nightmare, and you go into a rabbit hole. And that you can use either the raw API is fine, or you can wrap it like I did. It's fine. Either way, But Flume is, that is one of the value of Flume, which is for me kind of game changer. So I do, and then STD. So obviously we don't want to do that. Yeah. And that is where we're going to do a web request post. So we're going to do a big slow here. Interesting. So now my question here is, that we need this guy there. We could put it there. It should work. Do they have a post? Yeah, they have a post. I need to look at their stuff here, their doc quickly. That is where sometimes I use AI or stuff, but request. Or I can use, actually, the thing I will do if I were alone is like that. I go to GenAI. So this is why I could use another, or I like VS Code. It's not perfect. Nothing is perfect, but it allows me to switch project extremely quickly. So for example, I know that in GenAI, I have things like that where I exported, I abstracted a little bit. I like to wrap things up sometime. So I do a do post, and I do this. And in this case, so it's building the header. Does it create from scratch? Where's the client business? Or I recreate a client every time. Yeah, I might recreate a client every time. That could be optimized, but there's it's a mixed, but that could be optimized. But what I'm going to do is I'm sorry, being request header. So I'm thinking right now as how much I want to no, it's a okay. Yeah. I'm being silly here. So I have the client, I do a post, and that should return a request. The URL will be config here, let URL, and self config dot URL. Okay, I put that as a string, get that there. Then if this, and the post u into URL. Interesting. Why does it complain over there? Okay, no. Okay. And okay. Okay, I'm getting a little bit confused here. I'm sorry. There's me here getting C. What? What? Yes, that's fair enough. Doesn't like that. So my config here is an arc. Why doesn't the self? It doesn't like it. Ah, is a mute self, so it doesn't like it, I guess. So I'm going to have something like that, where I'm going to have. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, this one I'm going to do. I'm going to hack it. I'm sorry here, but this is going to be not pretty. Don't judge. Okay. So if I do this and I do that, it should complain. But if I do arc, and don't, okay, so this is one thing I do, and again, I don't have much shame about things. Okay, this is not nice. Okay, so that's fair enough. Okay, so sorry about this one. I'm getting a little bit. I'm annoying myself even. That's a common. Okay, super ugly. Don't judge. Don't share. What is happening here? So there's a very cool video, old one, but very cool, from Logan Smith about the arc str, which I love. And so one efficient way of sharing, when you want to share the same string over and over, this is across thread and stuff. This is the most efficient one. Right now, the thing which is a little bit weird in my stuff is that this one, yeah, okay. I'm going to say I'm going to change it again. I'm sorry. So right now here we have the client transport that has a URL. We cannot move it here because we might use it in different places. Self is mute over there, so that you wouldn't use that as well. So we need to pass a clean thing that can be sent and sync. So one way here is to take this guy, a string, a new string, and then do an into this guy. So that will work. Now, it's silly, yeah, because what I've had is I have my Arc client. This, which is the reason why I put it on Arc, was because I want to reuse this whole beast regardless of what it is inside, because I'm not going to make an exception all the time. And cloning an Arc is super efficient. So in fact, here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, config. I would have done the same thing if I were alone, by the way. Yeah? So it's not, I'm not blaming anybody here. I will do something like that, and I will do sef config clone. Okay? And I will do something like that. And then I should be something like that. Oh, config clone, sorry. URL. Now we are back to that. And now it makes sense. Yeah, so this is why I have the arc. I can have my spawn things, he can live as long as he wants. And then, because that might outlive the function, obviously. Yeah. So, and that's by design. So now I have this guy is an arc config, his clone is efficient, and now I use the URL. Everybody's happy. And that is what I want, because right now there's only URL in the clone, but eventually there's going to be more. So it would be silly to do the thing I was doing before. That was done. So now we have this, and now what we want is, this is a silly stuff here. I'm going back to my request builder, so method, so that is a post. And then we have the JSON, and this is what? Value. So when we put the request builder JSON, is going to be smart and is going to do that. So now I don't want to reparse because I put it in string. I'm not going to put it back in JSON and back things. So I'm going to have copy this guy. And I'm just going, so right now for me, I'm sorry, I am on GenAI here. So I'm on another code base. Super ugly right now. I don't care about being elegant or being even good. I just want to do the thing that works from a structure standpoint. So now I do this. That will probably complain. And then I'm going to go back here. This is one thing I will probably use in a normal day. So that will return request. I had an HTTP test a while back that I could use here, but from static and then header key. And just want to make sure that I'm not messing up my type. So I'm going to do JSON and the content type here. Oh, he might have a content type. Stuff. I'm being a little bit laborious here. Sorry about that. Content type, and that's probably a request. I'm going to qualify it, and then I'm going to put the value header. Should be happy. Okay, so I have my thing, and I'm going to assume here. I need to do let rec. So I'm going to assume that that is a consuming pattern. Yes. So you need to make sure you do that. I'm going to clean up here. We don't have to be that heavy. And then this guy, I'm going to put it above. Okay. So now I have. So I create the post URL. And obviously in my head, in my code design, all of this is going to be I'm going to have a web client somewhere. Yeah, web C. So that's a no-brainer for me, but right now I just want to make it work. So the client, I know that there's something I don't have again right now is a cookies, and usually I should be able to do a connect and initialize, and then it should complain when I go the second time. So now I do the rec. This is the thing. I'm going to put the content now. Body, is it body? Yeah. And I should be able to do the text. So that will be the text. That should be single line. If it's not single line, so here I could add something to say, hey, if it's not single line, complain. That might be a good guard. So that is the thing. And the body, it's interesting. That body, hopefully it's going to do that. Okay. So now I have the request like that. And then after, I think the way it works is I do a rec.send. So this is the thing. I was confused sometimes in detail. And then I do want to, I'm going to do a map error on this one. So I don't want to do question mark. If I do question mark, I think it will work because we did the error before, but I don't want that because it's going to be a pain to do this. I have an autocomplete that goes that way. That is my pattern, but I'm not even want to do that. What I'm going to do is I have another one, which is this guy, and I'm going to say fail to send MCP request, and I'm going to say text or txt. And then, because I know it's going to break here, and this is cause, and then I have the error. And now I have the question mark. And that should work. And that doesn't work. And that doesn't work because I don't have the await. Yeah. And that doesn't work because Fair enough. I am inside. This guy, so I think is complaining because DD is for me, it's like a temporary variable. And this is funny. Why is this guy? Bow move txt. Oh yeah, I move it there. I don't want to clone it. What does this guy needs? T into body. Body, inner. Okay. I'm going to explain why I want there. Okay. It's not AI, it's not vibe coding here. The reason why I did click, and this is one thing I love about Rust. Rust is heaven for that. And I think it's because they started with really a strong open source kind of angle. It works even better than TypeScript or Node. And Node was okay, but Java was terrible for that. But Rust is amazing. I just do option click or whatever, and then I kind of navigate through the code here. I am in the code of the create index request. I didn't have to think about it. The reason why I want there is I wanted to say, well, it's always takes the ownership. Does it need the ownership of the bytes? And if he needs the ownership of the bytes, then I could have done an argst str over there, but he wouldn't have helped it because he would have copied it. He would have done it anyway. So in fact, if you go here, when it goes to the into, if I give, so if I give, for example, a string like that, no, it even expects the whole thing. Yeah, expect, so txt is what here? TXT is a string. Yeah, he expects a whole own value, which is good. The API is good because what they want is to say, hey, give me the whole own value because otherwise I would clone it or whatever. So that's good. So that means that now I don't have it there, which is a little bit annoying. And right now I'm going to do the ugly way, which is, again, that. Okay. I am in an ugly mode anyway right now. My goal is not to be efficient. My goal is to validate the base of it such as I can optimize the code. And then after I won't do that. So I do want to know what failed. Okay? In fact, I'm going to do a thing here to do remove the txt clone. Okay, and then after I want it. So that is a cool thing. So bottom line is we're iterating here on the input from the request Rx. So we are receiving stuff and then we send it over there. Yeah, so far so good. And then that's it. And in fact, so now this will return a result. If I do a question things, it's going to complain, I think. Does it complain or not? Yeah, because I'm inside a closure and everything. So usually this stuff doesn't like that. So in fact, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this guy for now. What I'm going to do is going to do a match. And I'm going to, if it's okay. And here I could use tracing. Eventually, I'm going to add tracing into this whole business. Right now, again, I'm maturing the API. It's open bar. It's more about design first, and then the rest will be the design of the structure. And then we'll do the polish later. So I have a okay. Oh no, okay. This is why it didn't work. Send, await. And now I have the two guys, the okay, res, and then air. Okay. And then I'm going to do that is my stuff here, print debug print, and say MCP. Okay. And then I'm going to have, enough, okay. I'm going to have to think about this guy. And then Can I do a, I don't think I can do that. We'll see. Because the problem of this is obviously the request, and it's well done again. It doesn't have the whole request. You know, it could be stream. Yeah, so I don't know what it will be the debug of that guy, but error. And then that is the error. So I would do something like that. I wouldn't do a map error right now because I'm in a loop. And look at that, it does work. So we're going to say, okay, they did the right thing over there. So now, this is cool. So I'm going to actually try that, okay? So I'm going to try that, okay. We're going to try that. So one thing that I like often when I code is I like to, you know, do my little thing, and then anyway, all of this is kind of ugly, but it's fine. So this is a loop. We're getting the request of the MCP. All of this has already been validated there. So once it's going to start to work, it's going to be awesome. And then we get the header by hand. We have the text content type. Things we know is not going to work because of missing of cookie, but the first should go nicely. And then here we display that. Okay, so I have that. And now I'm going to close all the other guys. I'm going to do the client. I have this transport, and the connect will do the start. Yeah. So everything should be there now. So let's go. And I'm going to do a debug print here. Start. Okay. And when I say okay, it's not really okay because I don't even know if it's okay or not because, well, yeah, start okay. Here I don't put a weight, yes? You could, I think we could put a weight, yeah? We do not put a weight because we don't want to wait for this guy, yeah? This guy needs to go live his own life, yeah? So start okay. Okay, so now we go back there. So now we go back there to start our server. Remember, that is a server API for the one that comes. We're doing an MCP client. The thing is working because the stdio is working. We did it before, it was working, and then we're doing this one. That is deprecated. We're using this one, and that will do a post of the JSONRPC line. Yeah, and it's funny because now that it's HTTP post, it doesn't have to be one line. It can be everything. Now we're going to do that. So it's going to start our server. So again, that is a reference server. So use that when you do MCP because it's a good way to test. They did an amazing job. I mean, those guys, they know what they're doing. And then we're going to do cargo watch execute. So that is my watch execute stuff. And then example, which is C03, HTTP, boom, enter. And then we're going to see the kaboom. Not yet implemented. Interesting. Not yet implemented. That is interesting. What? To do? Look at that. This one, it was earlier. So I'm going to do a transport. So here is static dispatch. Yeah, so we're taking the transport. We need mute because when we start, we need to set the guys, and then we do the transport T-Rex. And my T-Rex has the send and the receive that makes sense in this transport business. And they are just channels. So that allows me to be pretty cool. And we're going to do start. Here I could do kind of transport trade, whatever. So it wouldn't be client transport, but I could have a transport trade. We start and everything. It's not really needed because it's static dispatch anyway. Eventually I might, but I don't, yeah, we don't need it. So when it's not needed, I don't do it. And when it becomes obvious that it's needed, then I do it. Moreover, you have the whole async business and stuff, and then now it works a little bit better, but still. So I do the transport, which is MCP client transport, and then it complains. That is interesting. And that is because, yeah, what does it complain over there? couldn't convert. Interesting. Interesting. So I'm going to explain you what's going on over there. So typically what I have is I have errors at the root of the crate. So if you look at GenAI or whatever, it's at the root. In this particular crate, the agentic crate, I'm going to have two main sides. One is MCP, the other one is 8-way. So I don't want to have a main error at the root and combine both, because sometimes we're going to use MCP without 8-way and vice versa. They might even be in features and everything. So I don't want that. So now my root error for this crate subpart, which is MCP, it's at the root. That is the root, and it will be most of the errors will go there. And the pattern that I have a video about that. I do a type alias, and then I have my world type things. Now, it happened that as well, inside transport, I have my own error because there's a lot of things that I wanted to have with, this internal business here. So I wanted to have that. And so the thing here that I've missed is if I go, well, we're not using the same error. So this guy, we're using which error? The error of the transport. So that is the stdio. So that is the error that we're using in this guy. And then this one, I'm pretty sure we're using the MCP error. Yeah? So we don't want that. We want to use the client transport. So, and now this complains, because remember what we did back in the days? This guy of the request here, it's a nice kind of, makes sense in a way. We implemented it for the root error. Remember this? We implemented that guy, but it was for the root error. But the root error is not used, so it's not, we don't want there. We're going to put it in the transport error, which is good, because that's in a way the transport thing. So we go back here, press save, then boom, voila. And then boom, kaboom. So client legacy, keeper. Oh, that's scary. Okay, I might have missed a memo somewhere. TCP, sorry, stuff. Oh, yeah, because the other guys, our friend kind of got tired. Okay, we do this. And then we go there. And then we are going to press save. That is the way I like it. And error code stuff, record overflow. Okay, that's weird. So I'm going to go to the HTTP report here. Again, we are in the ugly mode here. So it's really open bar. TXT or JSON payload. TXT. Press save. And so that is the thing that I like about the development pattern is I press save and then it goes back. So I see JSONRPC. That is a cool thing. I generate that automatically, such as you don't have. You can customize it, but stuff, initialize, that's good. Capabilities, that's good. Version, that's good. Protocol, that's good. Request. Where is this guy? Oh, okay. A little bit annoying here. And then I go there. Record overflow. That is an interesting stuff. If anybody has an idea of that. So the good news is that it seems that I don't even know. I don't even know if I was saying the good news is I don't even know if it hit the server over there. So let's we're going to, if I do this and I drag and okay, cool. So we're going to run this one. And then we're going to press save. Didn't end it. And record overflow. Okay, so here I'm not using... By the way, today we haven't used AI, but I have nothing against AI. I use AI a lot. There's that today, record overflow, Rust. Using authorization proxy, how to... I don't understand what is this request overflow. Maybe a header that we need to give. Okay, so we're going to go back here, Stdio transport, streamable transport, command click. We go there, MCP. JSONRPC must be client send request. The client must use HTTP post to send HTTP sender. The client must use an accept header listing both this. I think that is probably the thing that we're missing. The body of the post request may be one of the following: a single JSONRPC request notification. That's good. Array of batch. That makes sense. This is awesome. If it consists solely of any number of JSONRPC response, if the input consists solely of any number of JSON responses or notifications. Okay, that's interesting. The server must return, that makes sense. And then so that's good in the protocol, because you don't want to start having notification answering back, because then people rely on that, and then it's not a notification. If the server cannot accept the input, that is server business, and the input may contain a stuff. So I do think that the things that we're missing right now, and again, feel free to ping here. It has been very silent, so I don't know if people are serious or not. You can join the MSTeam if you want to have questions anytime. I think the thing that we are missing is that guy, which is security, accept. Okay, the accept header, which and stuff. So what I do without any shame ever is start a new GPT. I'm going to show you that. And so I use a lot my procoder to do production coding, but sometimes I also have quite a bit this thing. I always have ChatGPT, a window below, and I use either Google or stuff. Again, I have no things, but here is I want to do in. So I put temporary because I don't really want to chat. And I'm going to say, so the temporary is over there. And then I'm going to say in HTTP, what is the headers for accept. And I'm going to give that. Just want to not avoid, what did it say? Okay, let's do that. Oh, okay. Well, this something I should have done this one, so that's fine. So if I do something like it's funny, do they have impl? Oh yeah, this might be more friendly than what I thought. So let's go there, and we're going to do a header. So again, this is one thing. I rarely go to the Rust documentation kind of things. What I do when I want to do something is command click, go there, look at the signature, command stuff, and it's like, okay, I don't have to understand everything. I say, I have enough. I think they are trying to be friendly. So if I do accept, and then I'm going to put these two guys, comma delimited. Press save, and then it works. Yeah. And then, well, that's fine. I have the error because things. And then if I want to be a little bit more thing, I will do an accept like that. I will assume that they have that. Okay. Okay. Now, there's the error. We don't have the server. Going back there, one thing at a time. Start our server. Go back here. Press save. And now, record overflow. Huh. This is interesting stuff here. I don't know. So what I will do right now is I will go. This is record overflow. I don't even know. Legacy error, record overflow. It's not even an RPC. I don't even know if he goes. Yeah, because that should connection refuse. That's fine. If I go to staff, it should be connection refuse. Okay. And then if I go to this one, okay, that's fair. So now I'm not going to discourage by that. Everything. So have start streamable. What is record overflow? I don't even know what is this. Let's go and ask things. I don't think he would know, but in Rust, perhaps, I don't think he's going to know, but just in case. I don't want to confuse it with MCP, so I'm going to do that. Record overflow is typically indicated the problem with TLS. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Well, hopefully people start liking AI a little bit more. If that solves our problem. That was nice. Press save. Oh, ho, ho. We're starting to see business here. Okay, 4.4. Express. Nocive content class. Well, doesn't look to be promising, but what? Okay, I'm going to split it. It's a little bit tricky because in this screen here, I can. I'm going to put that. And that's my server. I need to go fast. Press save. No, save here. Server is still running. Then this guy is it connection stuff. Oh no, that's fair. That's fair. So MCP, okay. That's good. So the reason why we didn't get the body, and again, the cool thing in Rust is typically when you use a crate, whatever popular crate, they are usually right. And I am usually wrong. So here I did a debug of the result, okay, of the response from request. Yeah. And the crate owner is right. He's not going to serialize the body because you don't know. The body could be 1 gig with 500 meg or stuff. So it's just doing the metadata of the request. Yeah, the date, the connection, and the status, which is 404, which is not promising. Yeah, 404 is not good. Why does it have 404? My URL is this one, localhost 3. So I'm going to go here. And I'm going to go back here. I'm going to press save. Okay. Why has it 404? Does anybody knows? So if I go this one, I'm going to have my browser here. I'm going to have my HTTP, localhost 3001. This one should cry because I don't even know. Could try it with curl, but this is close enough of curl. I mean, cannot get. That's fair. But the server is there. So why does he complain of 404? So I'm going to go back there and I'm going to take that guy. I'm going to print the server and then I'm going to get let body and then res and body. Do I have a body or how do I? Text? Yeah, that's fair enough. And we're going to do a it's probably return an error of some sort. And I think this guy is probably async. Yeah, which is good. Because again, when you read the byte, the benefit of async is when the other guys sleep or get tired or whatever, or lazy, your client thread doesn't wait, doesn't hold. Okay? So it's good to wait until it starts giving, but sometimes it might get tired at the beginning. We don't know. So I get the string, and then I'm going to do a 1p, and I'm going to do the txt. Do that. This is a mystery here. That is sad. It would have been cool to make at least one request, because this kind of stuff can be okay. Cannot post. Oh. Okay. That's mean. So the good news is the server work, request work, and so it doesn't matter to go to things. We just didn't get the memo of what is the endpoint. So I'm missing up something. So I'm going to say so what we need to know, so we started the server. So stdio things works with the same thing. When we start doing the one on the server, it doesn't work. It says cannot post. And I think it cannot post because we do not have the endpoint. So after the URL, that's not what I want. So this is what we're running. Why I cannot post? Streamable transport. Sending stuff. The client must use post to send JSONRPC to the MCP endpoint. Okay, I'm going to go to on a whim here and say, what if the guy say MCP? Why not? I'm going to start the server, quickly go there, press save. Fair enough. Okay. I didn't see in the spec, but the URL is this guy. Okay, we solved it. So this URL, and I don't know, it's probably, I don't want to waste everybody's time. So the endpoint is whatever server, the port, and MCP. So that is a way. I mean, I don't think it's in the protocol. It's just a convention. And it's a convention that they are demo server, which is awesome, kind of support. So now the cool thing is what we have seen here is our transport kind of wake up and on starting a loop, an async loop, and is going to send initialize command, which is this guy. And so I do the debug over there, payload JSONRPC2, that the IDs that come from the crate is generated automatically. And this is, by the way, if you have been following me a little bit, is, guess what? Base 58. So it's UUID v7, and then it's base 58. Because I like it, there's no special characters, and it's relatively small, and it's opaque. We don't really care. And then if someone wants to go, they can go back and get the time. Millisecond, kind of 50 milliseconds or something like that. Method initialize, capabilities, this is the way it works, a protocol, that is important, and then that's it. Yeah. And there might be a new version here of the protocol, I don't know, we'll look at it. And then that's the OK response of the MCP, header 200, happy. And then the message that has been getting into our stuff, result, protocol version, and thanks, stuff. So this is pretty cool. So in fact, if we go there, and I'm going to, usually I don't like to do that, but I'm going to comment that. I'm going to keep this. It's ugly right now, super ugly, yeah, but I don't care, it works. So I do this and start OK. Okay, I'm going to keep this one. And then the only thing I'm going to do, this is pretty cool. Do I have? Oh, no, this one return a void here. I could return in connect, I guess. I should return what we've seen. Yeah, so the things that we've seen here is actually pretty nice. That should be a type somewhere. And I might have it. I might have the type. But this is data, protocol, capabilities, and stuff. I think this is, yeah, this is a type that I have. In fact, what I did is, if you go there, I will, if I go that and do initialize, params result. Yeah. And that is that guy, exactly that guy. Server info here, implementation and stuff. So I have the type for that. And I just don't return it. I'm asking a question in my head is, should we do that? Because right now, you know, I have it, I have the data, I just don't return it. And why do I do not return it? Oh, I have nothing to do actually. It's pretty cool. If my design was not that bad, I think implementing this is super simple. So remember the way that we're doing. We have the client transport, which is going to talk to So we have the client. The client is the one that talks to MCP. We have the transport. The transport is the one that knows what is the transport. But when he sends stuff, he just text and send back text. Yeah. Then the client will take this stuff, a client implementation over there, and then he will take these things and he will, the client or the transport will turn it in the appropriate type. So now, in fact, when I press initialize things, when I send the request row, oh yeah, no. Okay, I have a thing that goes below here. So let res. So I use res, MCP message. Okay, so I have two kind of things. I have the send request and the send that return a generic MCP message, okay, which is the RPC. And so that is a send row. And then I have the send request, which has the magic here of the type magic with this stuff to find the response, the result type of the request parent type. So there's a whole little thing that I could go, but with the from and the to, I managed to do these kind of things. So the cool thing over there is because I have this from value and the type over there, everything kind of fits super nicely. So this is pretty cool. So now that means that if I go back to my client and resort to send a row, so here I could send back there, but that will get the JSON back. But if we want to be cooler than that, I think we could send that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And so now this is a send request. We didn't have to change anything because everything is already taken care of. He knows that the send request is a param. In fact, I wouldn't even need to do that. I can remove that guy, make it there because I have an into from param, press save. Don't make me wrong. Cool. And now that gives me the result here, which is MCP response of the initialized result over there. And now what I can do is to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to return this MCP, this guy, that guy. Can I copy paste it? No. MCP response initialized result. Okay, so now I'm going to press save on this one. It's going to complain because that guy is not it. And so I say MCP response. And that is initialize result. Yeah. Boom. Done. Connect. And now we didn't even have to change the transport. So that is a cool thing. Yeah. Once we start having the good kind of code design, because everything is over channel and stuff, and it finds its duck, and with JSON serialize, you kind of go back and everything, then this is typed. And so this means that here, when I do the client connect now, look at that. Res, I use res for response all the time. Boom, typed. Awesome. And so now I should be able to have 1p, res, question mark. I hope I have debug. And then boom. Oh no, that's not mean. Oh, that is interesting. I have a bug somewhere. Shouldn't be. Oh yeah, it start okay, but it doesn't complain anymore. It should have complained somewhere. Let's make sure. What did I do? Why it didn't complain? The server is not running. Oh. Interesting. Go to start the stuff. I'm going back here. I'm going to press save. And then boom, it's initialized. And then I go there. And now I'm not happy. Why? Why? Oh, you know why? I know why. Okay. Type works, but here, I'm getting overexcited here. Here, I'm not sending the events. So in the transport here, remember, in the stdio transport, we did this loop on the equivalent of this one is std in, but then I need to send I need to be able to send. So when I get the result here on text, I need to do something with it. Yeah, so that is the equivalent of the output of stdout. So if we go to the stdout output, when I get this guy, you see, I debug except truncate. So I do this kind of thing. Okay, so I debug like that. Okay, truncate the lines, 64. I might add that. Yeah, let's add that over there. Doesn't hurt. Okay, so here I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to usually I do put that something like that. Debug, then. So that is a JC debug. Yeah, that's my ugly stuff. This is a thing, but sometimes I don't. I do this for production in a way. And then I say return result. Okay, so this one is something like that. I'm going to keep it there. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to put this guy there. Then I have this. This is not line, is what it is. Funny guy. Okay, so what we want is something like that. Let res txt, okay. And I'm going to make it, and I'm going to do it ugly right now. I'm completely fine. So I'm not using the JSON of requests, which they might have. I'm using my stuff. I'm making it manual. And then I do a match here, and then I'm going to do these two guys over there, which is good. And then that will be my txt. I'm going to have txt over there, and then this will be txt. Okay. I'm thinking in my head right now. So that should be, we're going to do an error. It's error, yeah, I think. And say fail request. And then this is very ugly right now. I'm not, it's not about being elegant at this point. Can I do this? I don't know if I can do that. No, those guys. Okay. So that I'm going to do, I have the trace here somewhere. Where's the tracing? This guy. And then I'm going to do a continue here on this. We will continue on the next guy. Okay. So that will be the plan. Ugly right now, it's fine, I don't care. So that means that now this guy is txt. Txt should be the JSON business. And I'm going to clean the code later. Right now, I just want the flow to work. And then I clean the code because I need to see which utilities I want to have. So right now, once I have that, what we want, if we go to the transport, remember, we have the debug here, and we send the line. But actually, cool. Yeah. It's even simpler than I thought, which is good. So the way I designed it was pretty good. So when you design stuff, you always want to think who needs to think about what. My way to think about architecture all the time. So I always have an architecture first. We've been building big apps, small team for 15 years. I have a team, a remote team. I train developers and all these kind of things. And I'm very hands-on. So I'm not the kind of manager or whatever that throws the thing over the fence and then yell every morning on the stand-up or whatever. We don't have stand-up meetings. So the thing I'm saying is to say that the point of a good system architecture is that every part needs to be smart at one thing and dumb at everything else. Yeah? And this is a high, cute concept here. But the point is they need to know where smart. I decided that this transport guy, this guy, client transport, start and everything, is not smart at parsing either the input or the output or whatever. Just text. And then he's just sending text back and forth, and then that's it. It's not his business. Then the one that will listen those kind of events over the channel, we're using Flume, but you can use Tokyo, MPSC or whatever, then it's the one that is common to everybody, will receive the things, doesn't care about the transport, and that is where it will do the JSON deserialization, and then it will do the type business. So like this layer is just about, hey, I'm sending you one text payload, and you send me back another text payload. I don't know what it means, and it's not my business. Yeah. That is a little bit where the transport is, which I think is a good thing. So now, the nice thing about that is I didn't have to have the whole thing. So if I go to the stdio, the transport, this guy didn't know. The only thing he say is, hey, RTX, send line. I wait, and then error. In fact, boom, and that's it. Okay. In fact, I'm going to delete here. And I'm going to have a debug over there. And to do that, sorry, I'm being a little bit messy right now, but things is going to make sense. This is not a big section, it's just a small debug print. I'm going to remove that, and then I do the stuff. I send the line. This is up text txt. This is weird. While sending that can get confusing here because there's a lot of people that send to a lot of people, and so it gets a little bit tricky. TXT, okay. The guy complained here, which is normal. So I cannot give the TXT. I'm sending it there, and I don't want to clone it here. Okay. So boom. Okay. This is starting to be not what I want it to be. Okay, so I still miss something. That's fine. So the cool thing here is I'm using UUID v4. That is what we see there. Yeah. So the server, which is a good thing, is, and again, the HTTP. And anybody here, feel free to ask questions, and feel free to join also in MSTeam if you want to have live kind of things. I think it's still running there. The MCP protocol, which is what we're implementing right now, it's in a stateful kind of way. Yeah, so it goes and it's stateful because you have notifications. When you have notification, you have to be stateful kind of in a way because you have to know who gets the notification. So it's a client that connected, and because it's a web server, you can have multiple clients that connect to it. That's the whole point. So that's why when he sends back, he sends these kind of things. So here we are hacking a little bit because we're always sending the session initialize, which is fine because we're testing right now. And so every time we press save, because I have a cargo watch examples, is going to run this guy. And then this guy is that guy. Okay. In my protocol, I have something here where the whole client, the whole libraries return me type answer. And so I should have answer here. I should await, this should return, but this obviously doesn't return right now. And it's normal. So we know that the transport starts. We get the event because if I uncomment this guy, we're going to get the response. Everything is okay. Everything is nice. So everything goes to the server and stuff. It just doesn't cascade back. Even when we send it back here, which is interesting. And I think I know perhaps why. So I do the art.txt. And so there is something here which, so I'm sending the event to the art.txt. And then there's someone that should listen these events. And that is, so I'm going to, oh, yeah. So I'm going to do another debug print here. After send. So that is what I will do here to make sure that I'm sending this beast here. So I'm sending that. Now, this means that the guy that does a art receive either doesn't receive it because it doesn't give me. So make sure when you send event, and it's something it's simple, often we forget about it. But it's super important when you send event is print the error with, oh, actually, you know what? It is. It's funny, I do this. I think that there is an error. So I thought it was print, but I don't have the stuff. Actually, guess what? Here's the thing, my mistake. I commented out this guy. So let's do that. So I like my debug print. You can do with trace. Boom, we have the error. Ah, okay, my mistake. Okay. So this is good. Yeah, kind of. Parsing, I don't like this like legacy business, but whatever. Parsing receive message and okay, that's fine. That's cool. So when I send the event, client implementation, error, client staff, okay. So if I do a command search here, command F, okay, kind of. Okay, I did good. So my mistake here is I rely on debug prints rather than on the tracing, which I put. This is one thing which, you know, I use a lot my debug print business because I like to debug, but I'm trying to have tracing more and more into the things. The whole telemetry business is another part, but which is another long discussion. But the tracing is obviously pretty nice, and then other people can see what's going on and stuff. So it's a good practice to have tracing in your lib relatively early. And so my mistake here was not to turn it on. I would have saved some time. So parsing error thing. So this is pretty cool because now I do a search, I go there, I found that, and it doesn't like it because the error and the way that I'm doing it is I'm eating the error, which is not good. So that is the let else pattern, which is cute. But the problem is that I'm losing, I don't have the yes, of threaded JSON. So there's something here in this business that it doesn't like. Okay, this is what the thing get back to me. So if I have the okay, this is what I get back. Good luck to kind of get that. I'm thinking in my head here. MCP message. So I'm going to click on this guy. Then, okay, go back there. MCP from MCP message. There's something I'm missing. I should have, I guess I have my own serialization for this guy because I don't see. Yeah. So my own serialization, my own deserialization. Okay, which is fine. And that I deserialize. And it works, yes, but I deserialize and then I do the stuff. Generic value. Okay, cool. We're going to do that. Okay. My debug print here. And I'm going to do that. /n/n. It's very ugly. It's not beautiful. I don't really care. And then I'm going to do a value. Question mark. I'm going to make it pretty, kind of pretty. So here's, I have a custom serializer because I have this enum business and I wanted to deserialize. So what I do is I deserialize to a value. So that should be a value, set a value. And then I have a message from value. And then inside the from value, this is where I have a custom code here that look at the things and then do another deserialize. I might simplify the code, I don't know, but I like the fact that, you know, my enum can get deserialized and I decide over there. I could do that there. So now I'm going to do oh, that's funny. Why didn't okay. That doesn't even reach that point. That is weird. Out Rx. That the error message from STR, so that is where it complains. And so he has to call my. So here's the thing, it doesn't error here. No, sorry, it does error here, but I lose the error because of stuff. But in fact, I'm saying, well, I don't need to lose the error. I go to the MCP and I go to the, oh, sorry, I think I messed up again. It's in my head. No, I put it into this area and I have it there. So why don't see my ugly debug print? I should see my ugly debug print over there. It's even uglier, so it's getting uglier and uglier. That's fine. Okay. So that's good. Value deserialize. Okay. Okay, there's always a solution here. So the thing here is we are probably getting the error here, and that is kind of going crazy. I don't know why that will fail though, but we are going to do something like, we're going to do a match here. I mean, yeah, this is always a thing. Let value equal match value. Don't do the stuff, command stuff to have the thing. This guy is going to be the value. We're going to be happy. And then here we're not happy. And then we're going to say, I do the / because otherwise it's collapse, and I don't like to collapse when I am in an ugly mode. And then I'm going to do my debug, ugly debug. super ugly. And then I'm going to say E, like that. Okay. That's fair. And then I return error. Okay, so I just pass it through. So, expected line, colon, line, value at line 1, 1. The thing which is a little bit, always a little bit tricky with this deserializer business is I don't think that deserializer implement string. So I don't understand. There might not even be a valid JSON here that we're getting back. So the thing I'm going to go is go there. Okay, txt, I don't want. What did I do? What did I put in debug mode? Okay, press save. And that will do MCP OK, event message. This is not JSON. This is not JSON. This is not JSON. Why it is not JSON? So you see, that is a problem, yeah? This is what we get back. Am I doing something wrong? Rest text. Is that part of the spec of SSC? It's funny that I thought that all these guys, they were new line JSON, everything in one line. Oh, no unwrap. I don't unwrap. I mean, I don't, no. It's not an unwrap. I don't unwrap. I hate unwrap. And usually when there's library, but there's few library, but then when they use unwrap, I'm a little bit scared. So, oh, wait a sec. I need to mute myself. So one of the things here is the thing I don't understand is why this thing, for example, is not JSON. That is the thing I don't get it. And so if I need to think about it. I need to think. I don't want to rush. I mean, I could implement a hack here, but there's something I don't understand. I think, oh, you know what I can do? Here's what I can do. When we get the request, remember, we get the response here. Yeah, so we're going to get the response. Now, the thing that I'm assuming is that it's sending me the it's a weird thing. Yeah. Okay. So the thing I'm assuming is that it's responding with this text event stream. And so what we're going to do here is I think we can do something like when we get the response, res, headers. Can we do the headers? Yes. And can we do my debug print, ugly debug print? Up. And then we're going to do, that's going to be super ugly, but again. Okay. Now we run again. We'll make sure that our server running over there. And then this, we might do headers here because. And then that might be the headers. Express content type. Yeah. That is weird, huh? This is a crazy business guy. So what happens if I don't give that? I say I don't accept this guy. I'm sorry. We're going to try to say we don't accept this. What does it say? Header, connection, keep alive. Okay, but now it doesn't give us anything. Not acceptable, client not accept, and staff and staff. Okay, fair enough. So this is interesting. Okay, I think I got it. Sorry, guys. Being slow here. It's funny because I implemented server-side events for, and even a manual one for Google Gemini. And then I use the library of server-side event for Google ChatGPT and transport. And so here's the thing that got confused. This guy here, which is event data and things, I think that is part of the event protocol, this guy. So we're going to send that. And there's two ways we can go AI or we can go stuff. So I'm going to go AI on this guy. And I'm going to say for that standard, what is the payload? Okay. And I'm not going to trust it too much. I just, yeah. Well. Oh, it doesn't make any sense what I'm telling me. No, okay, I don't like it. I don't like that explanation and step. Oh, the MDing guys. Commons tools, stuff. Why is it not true? So payload? Don't understand why people. Okay, actually, OpenAI was right. Okay, I think I got it. So basically, yeah, okay, I remember now. The server-side event, it's a pseudo spec, okay? That's a, I don't know why they did like that, but that's a, we are going to send you payloads, and each payload is after a new line, or will have a new line after. So you get the payload, and then there's a new line, and then you get the other payload. And the way that they did it in their stuff, yeah, is this way where they say, well, every payload doesn't have to have everything. It doesn't have to have ID, data, and event, like we could have been intuitive. What they're saying is the payload could just have data ID, or just have the things, and it's up to the thing. So this is where, if I go to my GenAI. So that is a crate. So this one is in production. I'm using it all the time and stuff. I have a thing, and I thought I could get away without it, but that was my mistakes. And I have a crate, which is request event source, which I'm not sure is the same thing, but we're going to, because there's multiple kind of various specs on this kind of, and the idea is rather to do WebSocket and all these kind of things, or Socket.io or whatever. It's to open a long-lived HTTP session, live connects that goes through firewall, is more friendly with other stuff, and then just like have a bidirectional kind of format in a way. So that is what they try to do one way or another. So if I go to request event source, this is a way I used this guy, build event source for request, provide a wrapper, request, provide event source. Yeah, server side, can learn, yeah, MDM doc, stuff. And so what we want, I don't want that, I just want the parser. Yeah, I remember I used that. Yeah. Okay, so now everything kind of makes sense. So the thing where I was confused before, if you look at the thing and say, hey, everything is post, because JSONRPC is a payload, and then I'm thinking, this is interesting. So it's not clear. They say it's a post, but then sometimes it's a get. So the trick here is, I remember with request, you don't create your, I think there's a builder as well, but by default, you do this event source, you do the get, and the thing is going to keep streaming the business. Yeah? So that is a little bit the way it works. Now, in our case, we make a post, and then it returns a non-JSON kind of stuff, a server event stuff. So if we go to the API documentation over there, do they have event source? Event item. And they have a parse. I'm trying to see if they have a parse business. Doesn't have a parse. Ah, that is a pain. I thought I was going to do it relatively simple. So we get that. That is not JSON. And this too is SSE stuff. We shouldn't care too much about this guy. And because that is not MCP protocol in a way. It's the SSE, which they decided to have an ID, and that is different, this ID. So it's getting confusing. Yeah, this ID is different than this ID of the data response, which is this ID is the echo of the ID that we sent. Okay. So that is the whole thing. So the point here is that now what I want is to do a hack, at least for that thing. And I'm going to do the hack where am I going to do it? I'm going to do it in the transport stuff. And I'm going to say, hey, it's not nice because you, okay, don't share that, okay? I'm going to do a super ugly hack, which I'm going to actually be happy about. So here's a way, and this is obviously a silly way, but the way I'm going to do for now, this hack to move forward, that has to be fixed, yeah? So I'm going to do a fix me. Make sure to parse SSC message correctly. So the problem here is when you work with ChatGPT or whatever, you do a post. You do a post with your chat request, and then you get all of this response back. That is the way it works. Yeah? Does this guy C88F where is the headers? Okay, MCP session ID. So that is super important to keep in the transport. That is the result of the connect. So that's pretty cool, yeah? So I was talking at the beginning, I was saying, hey, so MCP is stateful. So this guy, so it's actually good to have done that, is the one, so it's not in the cookies, which is good. It's in the headers. So now that, I need to keep that in my transport. In my transport later, I will say, hey, you cannot connect if you haven't disconnected or something. I will solve that later. Okay? But this MCP session ID, I'm going to have actually, going back there, and the connect here will have this MCP session ID. So I need to have that in my, so I'm going to go to the HTTP transport. Going to be my type. This is the inner. I have the client, and I'm going to have the MCP session ID. And that will be, and it's fine because it's below arc, that will be a string. Okay? So I will do a toString, even if you send me a number, I will do a toString of it or whatever. So that is what we are going to keep because this is what needs to go back to the header. So the start here, so it's very cool, it fits very well with. The start is when you get the response, at the end, it needs to create this client HTTP transport in there, which will have the request client and this one. And the good news is we don't have to goof around with the cookie business. So that is pretty interesting, and we're going to assume that that is part of the spec. Okay. So we're going to assume that this one is that. So now we have the session solved. That is good. And the last thing that we don't have is, right now I'm not going to use that crate. I might at some point, again, no emotion. But right now we're not, because I don't know if I want to there's something actually I want. Actually, you know what? We're going to use it. So here's the thing that I think is going to happen. I think the way we do it is we do a post on initialize. And then the server will send all of the events through that channel. And then every other post and then the question is, does another post will have the response, or do we need to read it from that channel? So this is an interesting kind of, this is getting deep, but it's interesting, yeah? Because they change the stuff, yeah. And here I'm not trying to like go too long into the spec here, which is here, but they don't. The input itself, the input inside, if the server initiates the SCC stream should eventually include one JSONRPC response per each JSONRPC request sent. Body. Okay, so that answer. If the server initiates an SCC stream, which is what we have, the server stream should eventually include one JSONRPC, which is what we have in the data business, response per each JSONRPC request sent in the post body. Okay. This response may be batch. Okay. The server may send SCP request and notification before sending a JSON. It's getting a little bit tricky here. The client may issue an SCP GET to the MCP endpoint. This can be used to open an SCC stream, allowing the server to communicate to the client. Okay, that's fine. That's good. So that is where the GET goes. So it's still JSONRPC, but you connect to it, and then it will send you the data back. The client must include accept. Okay, so that is what we saw. Okay, when it does a GET here. Okay. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so this is serious business. I mean, it's getting tricky. It's getting interesting. So usually when you implement a client-server stuff, you send a message post or GET, and then you get a response, and then you leave. Here with server-side events, you open something, and then you can send multiple events, batch it, and then the server could respond to you one or more messages. The question is, well, does it respond all the time to where you did the post? And then if you do another post, does he return the response only on this post? Or does everybody get it? It's get tricky, yeah? So I think what they're saying here is to say when you do the post, you get the response of what you sent, even if it's event-based kind of business. Now, the thing where I'm not clear is there's some notifications, I think, in MCPs that are not really related to a post per se. It can be later. So in this case, which channel do you have? Yeah. And that, I think, is where they have the GET, I think. This is where the client might issue a GET, and then the events will go to this guy. Yeah. So that is what I'm thinking. So there's a lot of nuances here that is not as simple as when we do a stdio. So there's two ways of doing it. The thing I'm thinking about is to say, hey, we can do a hack, ugly hack. And assuming that nobody is watching, I'm going to do a first index. Don't repeat that. Yeah? First index of the braces, and I'm going to say everything to the end. It's a JSON, send it back, and everything should work. Now, the problem of that is that obviously this is an ugly hack first. And second is, and we don't care about this ID. I don't think this ID is relevant. And second, the problem of that is that if you send more, then, it's not going to work. Yeah. So now I could try to do the things, but then after we have other braces, it doesn't work. It works only for the first one. And otherwise, you need to have a proper parser, lexer. So that is one. The other one that we can do is we can use this one directly. Yeah. And that will provide a much better, and I think you can do a get, and that will provide a much better thing. So first we're going to do the hack, because I just want to know if I can be happy, because we've been working on that for quite a while now. So this is going to be a long stream. I don't know if people are going to watch it offline, but it's going to be interesting. So the thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the data. So here I am MCP OK. I have this guy is not JSON. And so I'm going to say, let first index. Okay. And I'm going to say, it might be a better thing in Rust to do that, but first, is there a first? It's not the index. I'm getting a. No, how do we do index of in Rust? I'm crazy or what? Fine. I think it's a fine. And I think it's like that. And I think it's got like that. And I think if I do that, it will be returned the byte index of the first characters of matching this light. Okay, so we have that, and we have an option. So if we say, what we're going to say yes, we're going to say like that. If, so let txt, I don't know if that will work, but yeah. If let sum index, there's a smarter way of doing it, but we are going to do a text if sum index text stuff. We're going to do text and index that. Otherwise, text. I don't know if he's not going to complain here because of temporary value business, but we'll see. Yeah, fair enough. So what if we do stdio? Okay, and now he's complaining because he's saying, okay, I should know all of that by heart. Let txt. Being annoying here. So what I do sometime when I do this, it's silly stuff here. I mean, I should know that. stdio. And then this is this one. Yeah, so I do a D like that. So like this, I see the type, and then boom. Okay. Now if I don't know if okay. So the compiler is smart enough here. So it's, in a way, it shouldn't work here, yeah, because this one is a reference of str, and then I shadow the txt, which own the data. So here I should have been lost the data, but the compiler is smart enough to say, okay, that's fine. And on this one, I'll let you go. So I have the txt over there, and then I go back there, and I still have the error. Yeah? So, well, actually, do I have the error or no? MP. We're going to set the row here, and then we're going to have the hack. Oh, I think it's starting to work now. Oh, look at that. It's ugly, but it works. Now in my client, I have the client here. I have this. And now, okay, this is silly. It's super ugly. Don't share it. And now I should have this one. I have the MCP. It works. So we got the response. It's fully typed. The JSON was good. And so everything is good now. Yeah. So this is what we have at the end of our things with all our crazy debug print. Yeah. So what I do is I do something like that. Search. I'm going to clean many of this debug print over there. So this one is, why do we have this one? Oh, it's on README. I'm going to remove that as well because I don't want that there. And then connect transport. I want to keep this one. I'm going to remove this one. And then this one, I'm going to remove it. The header, we're going to keep it because we want to do the stuff. The row, and we're going to remove these guys. We're going to remove that. It's fine if you start. We'll add it later. And then we're going to return that. We'll think about that later. And then the value here, we don't need that. We definitely do not need that. So now it's a cool, I have the things, I have my header because I need to do, and then I still have the end somehow. Why do I have the end? Oh, because I didn't do a control set. And then I have this one, which is the one I want. So that is awesome, actually. This is awesome. I'm going to do this. Oh, the header, we want to keep it. Yeah, this is awesome. And then stuff. Okay, this is a long session coding here, but that's good. So now what we have is we're sending the first request, we're getting the right type back, and then we're printing, this information where we get all the stuff. Now, what we don't get, which is interesting, yes, I will have assumed there might be a reason for that. I will have assumed in their protocol that in their response of initialize, they will have returned the session. They will have said, here's a session ID. I think I know why they didn't do that, because it's kind of protocol dependent. Because in case of a command line, session ID doesn't really mean anything, because obviously a command line can have only one session at a time. So that's why they are doing it in the transport frame, yeah, which is in this case headers. So we're going to keep that, and now what we're going to add. So usually what I would have done here is I'm going to create another one, git add, git log. So I have this guy. I'm not going to add it here because we did a lot of things. And git c, and I do my tilde again before I was explaining. Tilde means that I'm like in the, it's work in progress, and usually I collapse them into the parent guy. So first, initialize work with hack. And again, those commits won't get pushed. Yeah. It's just for me to like having a, how would you say in video game? Checkpoints. Yeah. So I'm using them in checkpoints, but then after I don't want to show people that I've been saving that much. So the thing is, we have that. This is very cool. So we're going to do one thing now, which is we're going to return. We are not doing that right now. So it's just a one-time go. So we couldn't send more stuff. It will not work. Yeah. So what I want is to return these things. I see my entrance. That's good, I guess. I have the request client and the MCP response. And so what I'm going to do now is I want to have this MCP guy. And so remember when we did the run here, we have this guy, which hopefully is part of the spec. Actually, we can do that. Let me see if that is part of the spec. I will go there and I will put that on Google. Oh, okay, good. Command. Well, now I'm confused. Oh, cool. It is. Session management here, transporter. So I didn't, before I implemented that in the create agentic here for MCP support, I wanted to make sure that it's, I mean, at least I wanted to know if that was part of the spec or it's just, you know, everybody decide what they want. So I think this is cool. A server, streamable transport may assign a session ID at initialization time. I'm not sure how they will do their business if they don't. And then by including it as a message stuff and so of thing. So there's a may here. Must only contain visible ranging for stuff. Okay. If an image is returned by the server during initialization, client must, yeah, that makes sense, must have. And then things. Server may terminate the session at any time. Interesting. Yeah. This is going to be interesting. Initialize response. Post initialize notification. Okay, so we get the same kind of guy into both. Yeah, but we're going to do it in the response. Anyway. And there's a may here. So I think, is a may? May is not must, yeah? No, may is may, so may is option. This is my wife's name too, but it's option. So if I go there, I'm going to make this guy, boom, option. Okay, to respect the spec. So we're not going to be the thing. And then the header, I'm going to assume that request is putting everything lowercase. Yeah, so we don't have to do the thing. And I'm going to go to the HTTP transport. Headers. And this is where we have the headers. And how we're going to do that. That is where I'm going to have something like what? I'm stuck here. The reason why I'm stuck is because interesting. I don't like it. So the reason why I'm stuck here is because we're inside a loop. And in fact, I don't know, like in this start, I just start and I just start looping. The connect is another guy. It's just one command among others. So it's not treated in a special way. So right now, everything which is within the while doesn't know, is not initialized. It doesn't know. So it might be initialized, might not be. So the trick here is that the header business the header business is, I have the other object as immutable. And so the mute self here is not passed to this guy. The mute self is just passed because, in fact, after what I do is I have the inner, and at the end of the guy, but here even the client, I don't think the client will be. Interesting. Because the client the client of this guy, oh, it's clone. The client has the various configurations in the tweak and stuff. You do not have to wrap client in the arc to reuse it because it's already arc, okay? So I don't know why they do that, but so that the cool thing about that is, yes, we can click, and I use that a lot again. So the cool thing is, yes, we can have the client there. I'm not sure it's useful to have the client in the inner transport, because why? Because the start should take care of everything. It should start all of the little things. But we're going to keep it anywhere. I'm going to say kind of a note here. It's needed to keep request. Because we're going to keep, so we're going to clone it, yeah, because we need it there and we're going to need it for the one that listen and everything. But we don't need it in the there because other staff won't use that. So that's why on this request, I'm going to say, I'm going to keep it there, but it's not really needed. In fact, forget about it. If it's not needed, don't do it. Yeah, this is a good thing. Now, I have a problem here with my MCP session ID. I would love that the MCP session ID will be on the first one, but again, this is a while loop, so there's no distinction between first and it's immutable. It doesn't change the parents. That is the current design. So I'm a little bit stuck right now with the session ID. Now I know I want my client to have the session ID, yeah? So I'm going to add a note saying not sure how to capture it for now, okay? I'm going to go back there, git log muscle memory to myself, and then it's fine. I'm going to amend, okay? Collapsing it, don't need it. So this, and I'm not sure. I'm not happy with myself. I'm going to clip the header like this because like this I can see the header and I need to solve that somewhere. I don't want to make the thing immutable there. It will be a mess. I don't want to have an arc over there. This would be the wrong way. So I need to think about something about this one. So the session ID is kind of lost, which is not good, but we're going to go with it for now. Are we? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to do. Yeah, I'm not sure. So right now, this one I'm going to pause. I'm not happy when I don't solve the solution. I don't care. I put it aside. I know the problem and things will get clearer later. So right now, one thing I want to do before we close today here, because that is a long live session, so I'm not sure if people are going to watch it offline, but the thing I'm going to do is, okay, rather to do our super dirty hack, remember the hack that we did there, you know, the find first thing, and then we do, you know, this is a way that we found the JSON. So we validated that that was a problem, that the payload of SSE is not JSON. Should have known that because, but the protocol is at every new line. We're not going to implement a new one. There's one, I think, which does a pretty good job of doing that. And in many ways, so I think you can pass your query builder, if your request. But in many ways, I understand what they are doing because you want to make sure that you get the new line, the empty line, to get the new payload. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this crate. So I'm going to go there. I'm checking this 1 year ago. A little bit scary, but it's probably stable. 1,000 stuff. It's pretty well used. So I'm going to say, okay. And I might change it later. It's fine. And but I've been using it on GenAI. It's been very reliable. So we're going to add it into the web section. So that is a way I like to kind of slice my stuff, because otherwise it's all flat. But here I'm slicing the thing by categories. It's not dogmatic. There's no book, but I like it. So we have that now. And in fact, we go back to our HTTP transport. I'm going to go back here, ugly, but git log, make sure that I have it here, git amend. The reason why I do a git log all the time, I force myself because I want the muscle memory, because git amend is an alias that amend the thing with a commit before. And if you do it where you are not supposed to do it, it's a pain. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, then you are like in a pickle. So one thing that we're going to do is to say, hey, Jamie, it's cute, your stuff, but we do not want that. So we do want to use that API. And I'm going to use event source. Yeah, I'm going to go, let's use that. Okay. We're going to do side by side. We're going to see the way it works. Okay. Not sure what is mute. Okay. So I don't want staff, I want post. Well, but if I want post, then do they have post? Doesn't have post. Yeah. So I might not be able to use this guy. Oh my God. No. I understand why they didn't do the post, because it's a little bit weird to do a post and accept that. But unfortunately, that is the way we have it. And request builder, so that's pretty good. Static, header, accept. Game over. I don't think we can send only this guy. I am in the source code here of request. Again, this is one thing. But here I'm in a cool, but let's do a training like that here. We don't even have to do fancy. I go cargo watch, and my cargo watch over there works. Everybody's happy. We are happy. That is something else. I don't know what is that. But this is, if we did only the text event, which is what the other guy does, I think it's going to be a kaboom. Yeah. So we are game over on that guy. We cannot use event source. Yeah, because it does that. Even if we give the builder. And I think that overrides. It's not an add, so that will override. So I think this one is unfortunately a no-go. Because we could have done the post, and then it would just have done the send, I think. And then we would have been okay. But unfortunately, because of that, we're like stuck. And I don't think he has a parse. Does he have a parse? So sometimes I feel sometimes better to navigate through the code like that than going to the doc somehow. Message events, event data ID, you know, so that is the thing, the famous stuff. And then, and I don't know, interesting. Source, event stream, lead parser, okay, good. And I don't think he exposed the parser. So here I'm going to be stuck. So I'm kind of like, I don't think he exposed the parser. If I go to lib to see what is exported, pub use event stream, stuff, event source. So there's no parser. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to go to lib.rs, SSE, safe implementation, okay. Request event source, that is what we were talking. Web framework, SSE stream, conversion between HTTP body and stuff. That might be okay. Kind of low guy. But I'm low too, so low is cool. Open MCP, another event source stream. That might be what we need. So I'm going to click on this guy. 2022, scary a little bit, because this stuff is moving a little bit. And new client, get event source. Is it the same one that we have? It's confusing sometimes. So request event source. Right now I'm trying to find the right APIs to do that. And I'm a little bit on the stuck side over there. In fact, what I will do is to say, hey, does this guy, the request event source, I think depends on the lower guy. Yes, event source stream. So that is probably what we need to use then. And hopefully API reference. Let's see. So that is the guys that give us something. New get send backstream event source. That might be because now we can do a post. That might be what we need. Okay, so let's do this one. So we're going to go this one. So we're clicking here. So again, we're starting. This is what we're doing. Yes, we're adding MCP client to MCP HTTP transport protocol to the agentic. We already had stdio. Now we want to do the HTTP protocol, and it's a little bit more involved because apparently the server has flexibility of responding with SSE or raw JSON or something. So it's a little bit a ride. And there's probably good reason for that. I'm not saying it's bad, but so event stream, I'm going to copy this guy, going back there. So event source, we're not going to use it. That's why usually I don't like to, when I'm experimenting, I don't like to import the full type. Okay, so we're going to have this. This one should complain because we have the thing in the import. Okay. Now I go back there, which is my dirty hack, where I get, because again, the thing that we get is not a JSON, this string with this new line stuff. And that wouldn't work because if you have multiple messages, the whole thing wouldn't work. So I don't want to keep that. And in fact, what I'm going to do is go back there and I'm going to request new. So what they have here is a trait, I think, that turns the byte stream of request into their event source, such as you can do next, next, next. Okay? So that is what they offer, which is pretty neat. So what we're going to do is we're going to see that. This is no, it's not actually here. It will be something there. Yeah. Obviously, we wouldn't keep the two. Yeah, I'm just like right now, I'm just byte stream. Oh no. And so I hate to put unwrap, but let's say I don't want to type unwrap. In fact, I want my computer to prevent me to ever type unwrap anywhere. But okay. But here, no. So I don't need to type unwrap. Map air, boom. That will take care of this business. I have a little stuff. Yeah. So now I want to oh, okay. Client transport. Okay, and that is CD. Okay. Apparently that doesn't work. So, okay. I don't want to be too crazy here. Oh no, because I am I'm sorry. I am in the closure. So I'm going to do a wait dot, and I don't want to use unwrap. So I'm going to do a wait. So I'm going to do a let okay. A wait else. And then I'm going to do a debug print and say cannot real request or whatever, it doesn't matter. And then continue. Okay. So the thing here is it goes there and it's normal. Yeah, so that's good. That's what we wanted. So we're going to do a local host here, which is 3.1. This is going to be the MCP. And here we want to post. Okay. And what I want to check is that once we have the stream, so here we have do we have a stream here? Oh, yeah. That's cool. So the thing is, we don't have a stream, we have a response, okay? So that is what we have. So we're going to send a request, and then we're going to have our response. And so this means that below here, the whole thing below is going to break, but we don't care. Below, we're going to have our response. And now we want to look at the spec here. And so we get the response. This is what we get there. And then it has this byte stream business, and then this event source. Okay? And I think the byte streams, if I go, there's probably some types. that needs to be. So I go to example. This is where I always love it. I think there's this guy that needs to be added. Okay. So that is the thing is missing. And sometimes, for whatever reason, it doesn't really recognize it very well. So we're going to use those guys. To go back there. Do I have future? Oh, I don't have futures. They might be, okay. And so then I go back. I don't remember which version of futures we should have. So I go to cargo and I'm going to future core futures 03. Yeah. There's one, which is one. And then, so I go back to that, guys. I have this little section, and anything that is async is over there. Now I compile, so I'm happy. Go back to my HTTP. I do 2 requests here, so it cannot be worse here, but that's fine. I don't care. Now we do a post, but we do not have the body and all this business. So in fact, you know what? I can take this. This is the one we want to do. And that is text or application JSON. Yeah. We need to have both. So if I comment this one out, should run. Yeah, actually run, because we do 2 in 1 get, now it runs. And so in fact, I don't need to rebuild the whole thing. What about using that one? Because we know that this one works. And then we do that. This is actually this I like a lot. And I'm going to comment this one out. And I'm going to send here. I'm to say error. Cannot build. What are we building here? The MCP. Send request. So here is bad because I should, print the error, but I'm going to do that for now. And if it goes on us, we'll do that. That should send, it shouldn't complain, but then we don't get anything back. This will, it's something else, get disconnected, will keep, is because we are dropping the communication and then it gets dropped, but that's fine, it does work. We'll fix that later. And so now we have the send, we get the result, one, we need it mutable, and then we're going to take whatever it does here, which is a byte stream, which we might need another crate for that. Res, let dd. So my dd is just because it's easy on my keyboard. And then this way I know what the type going back. So that is byte streams. I think you need another crate over there. So if I go to the examples, sorry, examples, request, and then I think is one of, it's funny, there's a typo here. I think I'm going to say is that guy. I'm going to assume it's that guy. I don't know why. Yeah. And I think, no. Okay. Okay, so something is weird. Oh my God, today is long here. Response. from response. So we have the builder new, does the body, does the unwrap, obviously. Okay, I'm confused now. The builder of whom? The builder of HTTP response. Oh, but this is a mock, no? Oh yeah, this is a mock business. So batch streams. Let's say Rust batch streams. Response request batch streams. Oh, I think I need a feature for that. No, that's the reason. Sometimes it's a little bit create feature stream. I would have gone to the doc. I would have found that. So I go back there. I go to the request. That version of, and then I do feature. So equal, and I'm going to do a batch stream like that. Not a batch stream like that. I'm going to say, what do you say? Stream. It's happy. Everybody's happy. Amazing. So that was the stuff. And then I have implementation of stream. And then after I go back to the example over there now that I have. Okay, now I have too many tabs. Okay. And now I do the event source. Okay. So that should be is magic there. And then in my DD, I have this event stream. And the guy that did the lib, super smart. So now, and this is, no, I'm using the other one. Which one I'm using in GenAI? No, in GenAI, I'm using the higher level one. But this one is good, is anyway. So now I'm there and I'm going to go Hacking for money. Is it? I don't know if that is spam or not. So stream, and then I'm going to do what it does, which is that. Yeah. And then is what we had before. Oh, it's never ending because the question is, and in my header, so the header is sent obviously once. So can I get my header here? Can I do that? Just before? Is it going to complain or not? Okay, cool. Okay, that's cool. A stream. Why does this guy is complaining now? Event stream. Cannot bow stream as mutable. That's fair. Mute. Okay. That is an iterator. It has to mute. Oh, wow. Oh, no. Okay. So so this is his print. Sorry. And then we're going to have error here. Error, stream event, error occurred. We don't care. And then what we're going to do is, that is our OK business over there. We don't need the hack anymore. And this was our send over there. Okay. So what I do is I do a braces on that. I'm sorry. braces on that comment. I'm going to do a comment like that, so like this for the things and it doesn't collapse back. I'm going to keep the event here. That's good. And I can have even ID equal. I don't know if that will work. And then I have these guys that. Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Now the data here. So I do a KI because otherwise it's on mouse over. I don't really like it all the time. Data, and then I'm going to send the data. And the data should be JSON. And then stream event base, press save, complaints. Yeah, complaints because. And that's it. It's working. No more hack. So now the cool thing about that is we still manage to get the header. So I need to solve the header problem over there. Yeah, to make sure that I can get the MCP ID into my. I think this is a good way of designing it, but I need to update this guy over there. And so, oh, I know how to do it. I can do a one shot. Yeah, I can do a one shot. So here I can create, oh, this is pretty cool. Because here, there's still people here watching or not, because this has been a long session. This is what I'm going to do. The message passing is awesome. So inside the body of this function, I have a mute self, because what I want is to mute that guy. Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, that's, well, I don't know if it's going to solve actually. My goal was to pass a one shot there and to catch it, the event. But then that will mean that I need to wait until the initialization is finished, which is not my current design. So that wouldn't even work. Okay, too bad. So now, anyway, the cool news is we get the headers. So in my header, as we've seen before, and so if I press save, where is my headers? They are there. I don't know why. Oh yeah, this is. So they are there, and we have this MCP session ID. So I need that guy to go back there. Now, the problem is while I am in the while loop in the Tokyo spawn, right now everything else is immutable. And so, I mean, the parents and stuff. So I don't want to make them mutable. I mean, it's not even possible, but anyway. And I don't really want to put that as an arc, I might have to, but as a mutex, because every time I'm going to send something, I need to get the MCP session if it exists. So I need to think about it, of how to do the thing. And again, here, I don't know what is initialization or not. I just listen that channel, the in, and I just send it to the server. So now the cool thing about sending to the server is we're doing it the right way. We are taking the we are taking the stream, which has this weird format here, which is not JSON, and then we're using a crate that does that, which is event source, giving us a stream. We do a next, await for each event. We're printing right now, debug print. That should be a debug print because we don't want to do that. And in fact, you know what? We can have a debug like that. That will be a good debug. Okay. MCP. SSE event received, the type, the ID, the type, and the data. I don't like that. We're going to do the data length. Okay, we don't need. Okay, and we can format it our way here. We don't need this stuff. Event. And then we have ID, data, stuff. Okay. This is good. And then we are, if we cannot send the data, we want to make sure that we say, this is super important when you use MCP channels to always print out the error, even if you don't know the error. I mean, here we know, yeah, you always want to print out the error because this is important. We're dropping one here. And it's normal because the error Rx, we're not using it. We're just using the out TX and the out Rx. So this one is an error, but it's not really an error because we're not using that channel yet. And we might not use it in this transport. And then that's it. So press save. We have the debug, command dot, tracing, press save, and that's it. That was a long session, but that was a very cool session. I mean, actually, I did what I wanted to do live. So if you have a question, feel free to ask question. I'm going to continue a little bit to kind of clean commit and remove the cloud, and I will probably even push that to the main branch. It's not fully functional, but it doesn't break the other one, so it doesn't really matter. And then right now, the crate is relatively in an early stage anyway. So feel free to ask questions in the chat over there. I'm not sure this guy who it is, but if you are legit, it's great. And that's it. So this is pretty cool. I'm going to clean this one. So right now I'm like cleaning before the stuff, making sure that I have the error over there. We have the error. We do that. So we need to make sure that now in the thing, and in fact, what I will do is I will go there and I will say error, or the level will be warning. Yeah. And error 1. This is because I'm super lazy. So when I want to toggle it, I want to copy paste there, and then that's it. And then when I want to copy it, stuff. I'm a little bit silly. And in fact, I'm going to go back there. So I don't want to have the debug every time I do the examples because they can be. But the thing I've learned today is, the error is a good way. Error and warn is always good to have, no matter what. And so I'm going to have all my examples with those guys, such as we don't get bad surprise. We wasted today like 10 minutes because I could have concluded before. So this one here is, we're going to leave it like that. And we're going to say, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We're going to say, what are we going to say? MCP initialize response. That was cool because it's very simple. Initialize response or connect response, which is the initialize, same one. So I'm going to do that. There's another one here, the header, this one. I'm going to do a debug over there and a to-do, and then MCP response. That is the thing for my stuff. Okay, so I'm going to search it. So the thing I don't like is to commit when I have this. This is my debug print. So right now, I'm not super happy about this, but I'm going to do debug. And then I'm saying MCP response headers. So actually, it's cool. It's exactly what we needed. We needed the lower level crate, and it works very nicely. and stuff. Now, it should be optional. I don't know if they follow the spec here. I thought that those guys were maybe, but it works. I have encryption unrelated to stream. I am implementing something like Rust NX. I'm curious about how much details it is best to. I assume we want to be brief, but I want to include a lot. Yeah, it's tricky. I don't have a good answer for you. And I have the same thing with Rust NX. Yeah, how much do I go deep? Do I put it in the code sample? The Rust web app code base. Do I put it in doc and all of that? My latest thinking is I want to put in good information and stuff, and then I want to build something that can be put in agents or whatever, and then people can ask questions on that with Procoder or whatever. So that's a little bit the idea of the thing, and the ways that I've done with Rust NX is you can see that I've split it into best practices. But right now, the guides is only generic Rust, boring stuff. If we want to go a little bit deeper, so if you go Rust NX Pax Pro, yeah. So if you go, my best practices is these guides. And so I have guide base that you can give to AI. And that is the best practices. Cargo best practices, commands best practices, error, example and stuff. And it follows pretty well. And when I ask to create and I give all of this to the AI, it will follow pretty well, the best practice. But again, when you do a Rust NX, like a big cloud application, there's much more than that. So it's a tricky about, you show the code or not. So good question, Kerlo, is just, I don't have the magic answer. So the RX here is going to be, I'm going to leave it like that because this might be just a warning. Yeah. And in fact, I'm going to, let's do that. So I'm cleaning up right now. And so this guy here, run stuff. Oops, sorry. So client. Okay, so the client has this guy which is run out, and I put them in function, it doesn't matter. But run out and stuff, yeah. And the run out, this is again a Tocos thread that will loop into the receiver. So it will take the receiver, it will consume it, and then it will loop through it and do the magic. So this is what we have the things, yeah. So it's pretty cool, yeah. So I get the ID, and then it will do a debug and say, hey, we got this ID response, and then it will remove from the queue, and then it will, let me expand everything, sorry, and then it will send it as a one-shot. Okay. So that is the thing that allows me to be, what would be the name? To treat an RPC, to treat an asynchronous event base as an RPC. Yeah. So I can get a one shot, and then, which is from the message here. So from the queue, yeah, from the ID, I get a queue over there, and I remove it. So I'm using a very cool crate, which is called dash map. So it's a concurrent dash map. So the cool things about the way it's implemented, agentic, the MCP, is that while we think it's a request response, it's not. I'm just listening the different thing, and then there's this part that map the response RPC, the JSONRPC, to the input, but it can come in different orders. So this is why I think that this design is going to be very robust with MCP, because MCP is designed like that in a way. I think a lot of implementations are going to assume this request response business, but it's the wrong way. So even if it responds to the question, to the initialize, inside the response, this is not how the flow of the MCP crate works. The flow of the MCP is when he gets the response, regardless, he sends the event over there. And when he sends the event over there, then there's this loop that rematch it with the response and then do a one shot and then assign it back to the request. So it's very cool because that will support, that is a good way to bridge event-based back to an RPC. And for that, you need to have an efficient, what I call queue, but is a hash map, but a concurrent hash map, which the dash map guy have done it better than I could ever done it. So that is what it's using over there. And so this is why over there, when I run the error, I do this error stuff. And I'm going to change it to 1 because I'm going to say that this is the back channel errors because MCP errors will be treated like this because it's a result. Yeah, so MCP error should be treated like that. Yeah. And so that is the design behind the whole thing. So now this is normal because I have this and 1. And again, this is why I love the cargo watch examples because we've been implementing and it's super fast to iterate. Stuff. Now I want to add a node somewhere in my simple HTTPD, this guy. So I'm going to add a node into my, so the things that the user will see, and again, it's a very early, so I don't think there's a lot of users, but I still want to do that. Not fully implemented yet, not to be used. Okay, so that is one thing. And use ST. And in fact, I'm sorry, the user do not see that guy. He sees a config. So I'm going to comment config. And it should be transport. Not fully implemented yet. Up to make sure. That is a new guy here. Don't like, I'm not a big fan of that. Until I left. Oh, okay. No, that's good. That was good. I love Clippy. Oh, yeah. So I will do that. And then I'm going to click that. So there's still kind of stuff to be done. We've done the send. Yeah, we still need to do the session ID. And what I'm going to do now is making sure that my CWE client C01. So right now, at this early stage of the library, this is what I'm using to do my test. Okay, it's not perfect, better than nothing. Call, and I think this, I don't like the two words, I don't know, call truth. And that should be these two guys over there, which is good. And then I even have, assuming that I have my server over there, stuff. In fact, I'm going to go back there, go back on top, and just for me, and all of that is almost more for me than for others. Just want to make sure that I show that, because I don't have to think too much about finding it. And that is pretty good. We'll do that later. We'll connect here, and then that's it. And so git log, git amend. And so that is where the things will happen now. Before I don't need to commit all of these kind of things here inside stuff. So I'm going to say fork. So I use fork. I love fork. I have a nice sense of that. So I put this guy. I'm going to be squash to parents. Then I'm going to reward it. I don't need to keep the history. And then I'm going to say, I don't like the plus because it's not there yet. So I might have a tilde actually, which usually I don't have a tilde for my commits, but this one is fine, you know, first pass at adding HTTP transport. And then we'll do that. And we'll have a tilde. It's not the official plus. We base, hopefully it doesn't complain. Then I have that. It's pretty good. And then I will be alone. I wouldn't have checking in and push it. Probably I would keep it in my branch. But because so many people, I mean, there were like 40, 50 people there, I want to push it such as you guys can play with it if you want. And so git s switch main git merge to commit. I don't know why to. Okay. Oh no. Okay. After the one. So git merge nx and git push origin oranges, and then boom, that will go there. And now you should have all this kind of things. Still kind of ugly. Usually I don't like to push partial code, but this is such an early crate right now. So the practice that I have is, you know, it's below 0. I'm moving it forward. It's not too far to be 1.0. I think once, I don't know. I don't know if I wait to have the server or just the client, or the 1.0 will be client. I mean, the 0.1 will be client, I mean, and 0.2 might be the server as well. I don't know. But typically, at least this one, it's clear that it's the beginning of the thing. So I think that's it. That was a pretty long thing. I don't know how long it was, but it was a long one. So thanks for everybody. If anybody has any question, feel free to ask. I think he's coming to the end very quickly. And the only thing I'm saying is I think it's pretty cool. So today what we did is we had the Stdio transport working before, and we did the first pass at the HTTP config transport, and it's starting to work. There's a lot of things here that need to be added. Like, for example, here, I should get, and I'm not going to get started here, but I should get the headers, and I need to see what if the header is a server sent event, then I need to go to that mode. But apparently, the server can decide, I think by the spec, decide to respond just a JSON response. And in this case, I need to handle it in a normal way. So there's a lot of nuance here in the spec, which I think I will need to support. But as I support more and more MCP Server will be good. But so far, I want to make sure that I support everything. The beautiful things about, so right now, the thing is not going to work nicely because we don't keep this guy. We have to send back this session ID. So we need to design that one way or another. But the point here is the beautiful thing about the way it works on the MCP spec is that because it works with stdio, once it's worked there, then boom, we get everything for free. So that is going to be pretty cool. Okay, thank you, Kerlo, for the nice words, and everybody for joining. I will keep the things open for 48 hours. Make sure to bookmark to keep the URL, the stream, if you want to replay it or play the beginning or whatever. because when I put it public with my live, with the other one, which is member only, sometimes my subscribers goes down crazy. So sometimes I unlisted, such as people don't get upset too much that the live stream is for members. But I'm trying to do the public to give as much as possible. And I'm continuing to do my more polished scripted videos as well. And one that I might do is with Flume as well, and to show how I'm using Flume and so on. But those guys are pretty deep. And then eventually, when this library is going to be ready, I'm going to do another one fully scripted of a video, which is going to be the Rust XP agentic for MCP. And then we'll go through how to build an MCP client using this crate. But here is kind of behind the scene and the whole thinking process. Okay, thanks a lot here. Thanks, Thorsten Meyer, for the nice words. And then see you sometime. I'm not scheduling these things. It's a little bit when I have free times and I want to work on something. It would be better, I think, for everybody if I could schedule it, but it's a little bit hard for me to schedule them. So that's why I don't want to don't do this if I cannot schedule them. So anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. Until next one, happy coding.